Hey.
Hello, everybody. Excited Utterance here, and I have
Yes,
DALI Talk
yes, our lovely co-host.
co-host. And it is another day of, guess what? I
The
have to turn off
lovely
that thing in
trial.
my ear again. Yes, we have Mr. Pursehouse, and it's not finishing.
No, it's really,
It's still the state's arguments are on, and
yep,
what day is it in your
six,
country?
7. Oh, when Tuesday.
It's Tuesday,
Yeah,
and I mean, come on now. They were supposed to be resting,
yesterday.
Monday morning sometime,
I think so.
and it's now Tuesday. And look, I know that Mo has covered the morning already, and they're still not rested yet.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
No, and they got the
oh.
medical examiner next.
And we have more of the states. So, and we definitely know that the defense is not going to just roll over and do nothing.
Hopefully, not.
Well, we hope not, because there is going to be some, we hope, maybe
Yes.
a special witness called,
Ooh,
maybe someone from
maybe.
Hollywood, maybe,
Somewhat
maybe
well
some
known.
someone's going to be called to come on down to the
Yes.
stands, and all of our pretty Prices Right graphics are going to be for a reason.
Yes.
They're
It's going to
not
be
in
really dull
vain.
if he doesn't.
It'll be certainly all the work that someone,
Yeah,
me,
you.
put in
Yeah.
to
Well, I mean,
all
there
the
is still the
lights and
reference.
stuff.
There is still the reference to dating Drew Carey, but it's not as fun as
Yeah, look, we could have gone, like Shelley said, could have gone with the whole, um, uh,
World War II
yeah,
theme.
no, Shelley didn't say that.
Oh,
Could have gone with the whole sex therapist thing, which would have been
oh
fun.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and yeah, we kind of missed that boat, Dolly. It's a bit late for that
Yeah.
now.
Oh well.
Uh,
Well,
all right.
Eris,
So
he was
anyway,
subpoenaed by the defense. So, thank you for posting all the links, by the way.
also hi, Eris. We
Yes.
noticed that you're there. It's good to have you here. You don't,
So
you
he
really
was
don't think
subpoenaed
Drew is going to get what? What did she say?
to get
You really
called
don't think Drew is going to get called? He has been subpoenaed.
by the defense.
Yeah.
So it's really weird, but I don't know for what. But he is on the list. So I mean, maybe the defense lawyer is just a big Price is Right fan. So we don't know.
Yeah. Maybe they want to talk about how she fell off the balcony. Do, 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 do.
Oh,
Ee-oh, ee-oh,
I'm
ee-oh,
sorry, Eris.
ee.
I hope you're doing better.
Oh, Eris, no, we didn't know that. Ah, yeah. Well, that's terrible. Well, we're really pleased that you're back, at least in chat. I hope
Yeah,
that you're well enough to sort of go outdoors and things like that. But yeah, we did miss you. We noticed you weren't here.
good. I'm glad you're better. That's true, but yeah, I mean, you have a. I think Drew Carey would want to testify for her because he misses her, and they were really close. Elon Musk did not want anywhere near that S show.
No,
He
he
wanted
didn't.
nothing to do with it.
That's true. Um, I don't know if it's different for a civil suit compared to a criminal trial.
I don't think it is
I'm not sure. However,
because you
I
can
do
do.
know that Drew has already done interviews about this,
Yeah, I agree.
so he doesn't seem to be too concerned about talking.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I don't think Elon would have talked about him
No, yeah, he did
at
not
all.
want involved in that.
He was like,
He hired extra security
and
guards.
boo-hoo.
You see anybody with a piece of paper, shoot them.
Yeah.
I am not getting served. And they gotta
We're
like
going to
actually
my
like
fortress in the
yeah,
sky.
with guards, dogs, and everything.
Spaceship.
Yeah, he's in the Tesla in the that he launched in orbit.
Flying Tesla.
Yeah.
That's funny. Alrighty. So it's time for the graphics. Hang on, ready?
Hey, giant pot.
Okay, cool. And that now I can go and see the chat. Where's chat? Where's chat? Meh. There we go. Hello, hey Jackpot, how goody bloke. How's everybody today? Alrighty, let's go look at this, shall we?
I am
Okay, we
going.
finally. Okay, I said this yesterday, and
I'll
I
be
thought we
right
got.
back.
I thought that we had gotten Silver Fox off the stand, and I was wrong. They kept bringing Silver Fox back, and I'm pretty sure he's gone for good now. But apologies in advance if I am wrong about that. I really hope he's gone for good because I am tired of the Silver Fox. I'm sick of him. Hello, little peanuts or average peanuts. Dear average peanut, where'd you go? Hang on, little peanut. You disappeared already from my chat. I can't bring you up. Never mind. Oh, well, I've said hello. Okay, now, as far as the volume goes, I would like some feedback, please, from chat. Because remember, this channel is a democracy. If you think it's too loud or you can't hear us talking at the same kind of volume as the court, please let us know and we will adjust because that's just what we do here. Okay, cool. All right, so just give me a second to adjust it. We'll get going. Well, that's no good, obviously.
Yes. Thank you. Please have a seat. Please state and spell both your first and last name. Yes, my name is Jorge Posada.
Jorge.
Jorgeposada.
All right, people.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a senior criminalist at the Los Angeles County Department of
Okay,
Medical
I'm
Examiner.
talking, he's
And how long
talking.
have you been a senior
What do you
criminalist?
reckon?
Since September of 2017.
And what are your duties as a senior criminalist for the
Your
LA County
duties?
Coroner's Office?
My primary duties are postmortem toxicology.
Thanks, Harris.
And I also do evidence collection.
And what is your education, background, and experience that qualifies you to be a senior criminalist?
I have a Bachelor of Science from the University of California, San Diego in animal physiology and neuroscience. And the majority of our experience is on-the-job training, which I had at the coroner's office as a coroner investigator.
We are so mature, aren't we, Greedy Bloke?
And also on-the-job training as a criminalist.
Now, you indicated that one of your job duties was to collect biological samples. About how many times would you say you've done that as a criminalist?
Do you want to clarify which biological samples?
From the decedent's body upon...
Which biological samples?
Yeah, it's preservation and collection of evidence. Prior to being a criminalist, I was a coroner investigator, and we collected evidence on all homicides, accidents, and undetermined deaths. And now as a criminalist, only on very specific cases.
So in all of your experience, how many times would you say you've collected evidence?
Hundreds.
Now, on February 15th of 2020 at around 3:50 in the afternoon, did you observe an evidence collection of a decedent conducted by another criminalist by the name of Michael Schudart with the coroner case number of 2020-01406?
Yes.
I'm showing you a photograph that's previously been marked as P-holes 30. Is this the decedent in which you observed that evidence was collected from?
Yes.
Now, you observed that this evidence was collected by somebody by the name of Michael Schudart, is that correct?
That is correct.
And who is that?
He was a senior criminalist in our office at the time.
And where is he now?
He is retired.
And do you know when it is that he retired?
In 2020.
Now, where did this evidence collection take place?
At the Forensic Science Center, shorthanded to the
Carey's
FSC,
house.
which is at our office.
And why were you observing?
I was a trainee at the time.
Were you present during the entirety of the evidence collection?
Yes, I was.
Since then, have you actually conducted your own evidence collection of decedents?
Shelly!
Yes, I've been signed off. I'm
Really?
no longer a trainee. I've been signed off and I've collected evidence on my own.
Hey,
Can you
Shelly.
explain the process followed in collecting evidence from this decedent?
Well, it's very case dependent, but in this one, I believe there was a request for a sexual assault kit to be collected, and that was what was performed at our office.
Can you explain the process in which that sort of sexual assault evidence collection is conducted?
Yeah, it involves a
don't wanna
series
know.
of internal and external swabs on the decedent's body.
Swab.
Would you say that Mr. Shudart followed the same procedures and protocols that you do when collecting such a series of evidence collections?
Objection calls for
I love the little dueling guys. They're so great.
swabs.
They're like my favorite emoji at the moment.
Well, if this witness observed the collection, did you observe all the
Hey,
collection
Sal.
Yes, I did.
of this individual?
Yes.
And were they in accordance with how you collect a sample?
Yes.
Okay, I'll allow it.
I believe he answered the question with the court's inquiry.
Right.
Prior to collecting any evidence, was there a general physical exam conducted of the decedent?
That's the initial step. You do an overall
Also, Shelly,
examination of the
for me, it
decedent,
happens at dawn.
to determine your course of action.
Was,
I demand satisfaction.
Okay,
Sure, no problem.
yeah, thank you. All right.
Good day, sir.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the first step is
I
to
say
kind
good
of
day.
get an overall picture of the decedent to determine a course of action of your evidence collection.
Was an alternate light source used?
Yes, it was.
And what is an alternate light source?
An alternate light source
Well,
is a light source of a different
alternate to
wavelength
the
used
other
to
one.
determine if there are any biological stains on the decedent or on clothing, etc.
Were there any observations you made as a result of that general physical exam of the body?
It was unremarkable.
And what does unremarkable mean?
Well,
nothing was seen underneath
that's-
the
Medical
light
examiner,
source.
Shelley.
After conducting the general physical
unremarkable is a
exam
little
of the decedent,
bit.
what did Mr. Shudart then
Hurtful.
do next?
Yeah,
He
it's
started the evidence
not very
collection.
nice.
So what's the purpose of collecting?
I wouldn't like to be
evidence
called
from the decedent?
unremarkable.
It's to collect and
mean,
preserve evidence for the law enforcement
meanie?
agency if they want
Yeah.
to test it or not.
What areas of the body were biological?
Shelly, his
samples
name's
taken?
Jorge.
There were swabs taken from all over the decedent's body, from her face, her neck, her breast, and there was also a variety of internal swabs taken.
Yeah,
Did
right,
you
it
give
was
him a
like that.
squeeze, sir?
So let's talk about the actual sexual
You know he fondled the
assault
breast, let's
evidence
just
kit
be
that was
honest.
collected. Was
Maybe
there a
he was trying to
swab
give her
conducted
CPR.
or collected from the oral
Yeah.
cavity?
Yes.
Sure.
From the
That's
neck?
the reason.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
there was
it.
actually 2 swabs taken from
Eris,
the neck, one from
that
the
would
left
be
side
a
and one
far
from the
better
right side.
explanation
The left
than just an
breast?
alternate
Yes.
light
The right
So-
breast,
source.
the external genital,
Unremarkable.
sauce.
That
The
means it's
vaginal
not
cavity?
remarkable.
Yes.
Yeah.
the cervical.
Yeah, per
I
yawn.
believe there was an attempt for a cervical swab.
Otherwise known
What do you mean
as
by that?
not remarkable.
Sometimes the cervix is not visualized, so I believe he wrote in the notes that it was an attempt.
An attempt to visualize the cervix.
The breast.
Well,
Reading from the notes.
well, you said you believe it was an attempt. Are you
No,
answering that question based on
Oh.
reviewing the notes of that individual, or did you yourself see it was an attempt?
No, I reviewed the notes.
Good morning, lady.
From the
So-
case.
Okay, I'm gonna
If they
sustain
really
it.
have to like go up in
Based
there
on
and
your-
examine it,
So it's strict,
it's not at all
Based on
creepy.
your observation, did you see a
Well, that's what they
cervical swab taken?
do.
I do not recall.
Now, in addition, was there a anal opening swab
Oh god.
Yes.
and a rectal swab?
Yes.
Isn't
What
Jody
about
Arias, dude?
pubic hair combing?
There was not a pubic hair combing kit.
Ooh.
Oh, what?
She was shaved.
There
She
was
was
no
shaved.
pubic hair.
Were there any
Atta girl.
swabs taken of any actual objects?
Imagine. Like,
There's a
you know-
comb-
There
Combing
was the
kit?
swabs of
Yeah, that's what they do.
vaginal piercing.
Really?
Yeah, pause it.
Were there other body swabs aside from what I named in the sexual assault kit
Okay,
that
well-
were taken?
Yeah, there were swabs
Yeah,
of
pause
the
it for a
hands and swabs
Mel,
of the
that's
face
really
as
what
well.
you clicked on this
Was
morning.
there a swab
Well,
of
they-
the knuckles of the left hand?
Like
Yes.
pubic hair, loose
Knuckles
pubic
of the
hair
right
can
hand?
be
Yes.
transferred back and forth between partners. Or so in this case, they comb it to see if they get the pubic hair of the person who sexually or essayed her.
Yeah, okay.
If that happened, they
So-
were trying to figure out if it happened.
Yeah, sure. So there's a combing kit, and they comb through what's there, if
The
there's
pubic,
anything there,
yeah.
and to try and pick up any foreign
Yeah.
pubes. Right. Okay. And if there's none, okay. So if she's got
I'm guessing
no,
she shaved.
yeah, of course. Right. So we are ascertaining that from the situation in front of
Yes.
us. But yeah, if there's none, then the combing kit is not
Is not needed.
required.
Not able to be done, so.
Gotcha. Bugger.
Oh, thank you.
Hang on. Do you want me to rewind a bit, Shelley? Why's that? Hang on.
Maybe slow it down a
Was
little
there
bit.
any taken
Slow
from
it
any
down just a
stains
minute.
on the
Hang
breast?
on. Stop it. Let me.
Just use the arrow keys, the left and right arrow.
I can't.
Oh, you can't?
There is no.
Swab taken?
I do not recall.
Now, in addition, was there a anal opening swab
Yes.
and a rectal swab?
Yes.
Yeah, we got
What
that
about
bit.
pubic hair combing?
There was not a pubic hair combing kit performed.
And why is that?
There was no pubic hair.
Yeah!
Were there any
Atta girl.
swabs taken of any actual objects?
She must be so embarrassed in heaven.
There was swabs of a vaginal piercing that were taken.
What the hell is a vaginal piercing?
Were there other body swabs aside from what I named in the sexual assault kit that were taken?
Yeah, there were swabs of the hands and swabs of the face as well.
Was there
Hey,
a swab
MLS.
of the knuckles
How's it
of the
going?
left hand?
Yes.
Knuckles of the right hand?
Yes.
This is all getting a
Was
bit.
there any taken from any
intense.
stains on the right breast?
There was a swab taken from an apparent blood stain on the breast.
Was this the right breast?
Yes.
Was there
Yeah,
one taken of the left breast?
Yes.
And you said there were
there
face
was
swabs
a
as well?
piercing
Yes.
down
How
there.
many?
I don't recall the number.
But there was a face swab taken.
Yes.
What about fingernails? Was there a fingernail taken?
There was fingernail swabs taken because the decedent had acrylic nails. in
Shelley,
place.
I think he
So
hasn't
can you
had his
explain how that
lunch.
takes place?
I think he's more interested
Yeah,
in his
normally
food
part of the
right
evidence
now.
collection is a nail clipping or a fingernail kit where we take nail clippings. However, if the decedent has acrylic nails or if the nails are too short, you have the option of doing a wet swab of the nails.
And was that what was done in this instance?
Yes.
A wet swab.
And that was of the left as well as the right?
Yes.
Ew.
Now, why did Mr. Shudart, if you know, swab the
Oh,
jewelry
yeah, that's
pieces
probably right,
or
little
the,
peanut.
piercing that you observed?
I do not know why he swabbed it.
Is that something that you would typically do if you found such a piercing?
We would remove it if it was in place, but since it was removed prior to our involvement,
Oh,
it was just
someone
kept
already
as,
removed it.
Physical evidence.
Why? And
Is
who did that?
collecting body swabs outside of the sexual
Someone just
assault
walk
evidence kit that we
around
just
taking out
discussed part of
vaginal
standard procedures and
piercings?
evidence collection?
It is case dependent, but yes, extra swabs are taken. often.
boons. What's a boon?
Were there
Hey,
other items
David,
of evidence
what's a
that were
boon? Please
collected
explain.
from this particular decedent?
There was a red underwear and a hair kit that was collected as well.
What's a hair kit?
A hair kit is just a reference kit of hair samples from a variety of areas of the decedent's body.
Now, what was done with the biological samples or the evidence once it was collected?
Once they're collected, they are set out to dry in one of our fume hoods and then eventually packaged a few days later.
And when they're packaged, are they labeled with the specific coroner number?
Yes, they're labeled with the coroner case number.
And in this instance, it's 2020-01406, is that correct?
That is correct.
And that's what's done in following the coroner's office's standard
Greedy bloke,
procedures
I'm
and
not Mark
protocols?
Jensen. I
Yes.
don't draw badges or
Thank you, nothing
pins.
Cross-examination.
Thank you.
And by the way, Mark did draw badges. It's a little known fact, but there were actually badge drawings in his notebook.
What?
Yeah, I know
Jensen?
that. Yeah,
Good afternoon.
Yeah, he did have badge drawings.
yeah, he did.
Yeah, and he talked
Um,
about his balls being bigger than.
What did you
Yeah,
review
he
in
did, he
preparation
did, he
for your
did.
testimony today?
The criminalist report for this case?
He's really obsessed with the shape of a man's
Just the
member.
report?
Yes.
Did you review any handwritten notes?
Yes.
No, distant. I
There
just
are
saw
notes
like
that
a
are included in the
clip from a
in the
pretrial
report.
hearing.
Do you have what you reviewed with
Still
you
waiting to
today?
hear
Yes,
back
I
from
do.
Rebecca.
May I see? Your Honor, may I approach?
I don't know. Maybe requesting the.
Shirley, we'll only get
Files.
referred to as the decedent if we are unalived,
Pages here.
not if we just die. True. Like, it's not something that you get referred to unless, like, it's in court or something. It's not like a normal thing that people refer to dead people as, is it?
Probably not.
No, I've never heard of, like, just, like,
Yeah.
family
Did
and
you
friends
review a
referring to
preliminary
people
hearing
as the
transcript for your preparation
decedent.
for testifying today?
I did review it.
And you said you were a trainee in 2020 when the evidence collection was done by criminalist Schuart, right?
Correct.
And prior to you and investigator Schuart, am I pronouncing his name
Maybe.
correctly?
Shoecart?
Schuart.
Yeah.
Prior to
No.
you and investigator
Good
Schuart
question.
receiving the decedent,
I think they generally get referred to as the
a body
Yeah.
piercing had been removed by another criminalist.
It was removed by a forensic attendant. So they're involved with the transporting of the decedent.
Okay. And was that something that was not supposed to be done?
That was not supposed to happen, no.
All right. So prior to the piece of jewelry being swabbed, it had already been removed by this other attendant.
Correct.
And I'm talking about the vaginal piercing jewelry.
Yes.
Thank you. When
Oh,
you received
clitoris
the
was
decedent's
pierced.
body, did you find that the decedent had a lot of
How did
signs
you
of
find
that
out?
surgery, that she'd been
they just said it.
treated medically prior
back
to
a
her
few
arrival
seconds.
at your department?
Objection, improper opinion.
Well, well,
Removed by another criminalist?
It was removed by a forensic attendant. So they're involved with the transporting of the decedent.
Okay. And was that something that was not supposed to be done?
That was not supposed to happen, no.
All right. So prior to the piece of jewelry being swabbed, it had already been removed by this other attendant.
Correct.
And I'm talking about the vaginal piercing jewelry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Piercing
When
jewelry.
you received the decedent's body,
Damn, Drew Carey
Look on
likes
that
some
photo?
kinky.
did you find
that was
that
it.
the decedent had
just said
a
it.
lot
How did you know it
of
was-
signs of
They said
How did you
vaginal
know?
piercing
that she'd been
jewelry.
But how did you know where it
prior
was?
to her arrival at your department?
Objection, improper.
Why isn't that the only thing they pierce?
No, don't know. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I thought that. I didn't think they did anything else.
I'm not an expert on these things.
I'm not
Chat, do
either.
you know?
Drew Carey likes him kinky, apparently.
She's gorgeous. Like, he could do worse.
well, you can ask about scars.
Well, she's
or
let
whatever,
herself
but
go in the
where
last
they
couple
came from
years.
is
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's true.
I do feel horrible. I'm gonna
People's
make jokes,
stories.
but I do feel horrible about this.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
Is this
I don't think you do.
No, she
Ms.
seems like a
Harwick's
decent.
body was received by you?
Yes.
And did it look to you like she had received medical treatment?
Yes.
And did it look to you like she had received surgery?
Improper foundation.
I don't know, are you able to tell?
I am not, no.
Okay, sustain.
Did you see that she had catheters in her body?
Yes.
And did you see
Catheters?
that she also had breathing apparatus connected to her?
Yes.
Well, unless they mean IVs.
Did you have an opportunity to see when her body was turned?
Yes.
And did you then discover that there was underwear in place underneath her body?
Yes.
And you collected or you observed a criminalist shoe cart?
Shoe cart.
Yeah. I'm never going to get that. Shoe cart. Collect the underwear?
Correct.
And this was red underwear?
Yes, it was.
And what did he do with it when he removed it?
It is placed onto clean butcher paper to be packaged later.
And why is it put on butcher paper?
To help with the drying down of the clothing.
So anytime any item of clothing is collected, is it placed on butcher paper to dry?
Usually, yes.
And then you scanned both the front and back of Ms. Harwick's body with this alternative light source
Correct.
and observed nothing remarkable.
Correct.
And then you, after that, collected the sexual assault kit.
Yes.
Is that standard in every case of a homicide investigation?
The order in which the evidence collection might change, but it is standard evidence collection.
Was there any type of collection done in this case that was
Kim.
not typical?
How's it going?
Not to my knowledge, no.
You've arrived for some kind of
Were any places, were any parts of the
let's
body
say,
pointed out to you by
intimate
anybody
testimony?
other
Yes.
than investigator shoe
Like,
cart?
is there anything,
No.
parts of the
Were you the only other
woman's
person observing
genitalia
this
that you would pierce
collection?
besides the clit?
I don't recall.
Yeah, that was the question,
but
Shelley.
It was me and Mark that were handling the evidence collection for the case.
And you had said that the knuckles of each hand were swabbed,
That's correct.
and those were the proximal phalanges, middle phalanges of each hand?
It was the back of the hands and the back of the fingers.
And the upper
vulva?
face was also swabbed?
Correct.
That
No
was
worries,
the
Kim.
forehead, between the brows and the hairline?
Yes.
And was the neck area swabbed?
Yes, it was.
And then the fingernail kit. You said that the fingernails were acrylic, and therefore they were not clipped, but they were swabbed.
Correct.
How many swabs were taken for each hand?
It's one individual swab for each hand.
And when criminalist Schuchart swabbed the fingernails, did he swab the tips of each fingernail and each hand?
Correct.
Just the tips.
And do you recall that the fingernails were all in very good condition?
I don't recall the condition of the nails.
Would it refresh your recollection to review your report?
Yes.
Let's see the nails. I want to see how many. Bring it up, Jorge.
Come on, Jorge, we're waiting.
Let's go, Jorge. Hurry along.
Judge doesn't have all day.
Nope. He's got to go polish his microphone.
So you had an opportunity to refresh
Yeah.
your recollection?
Yes.
And do you recall now that the fingernails were in very good condition?
Correct.
And then one other question about the nails. Do you recall that a whitish scrape or smear, barely noticeable, was on L2?
I can look at my. Can I look at my
Please.
notes? Or Mark's notes, actually.
Okay.
He's like, what is scrape or smear? Lol. Yeah, okay. Can I go check?
I know,
Yes.
Harris.
And so that whitish scrape or smear was barely noticeable on L2?
Correct.
And what is L2?
It's the second finger
On which hand?
on the left hand.
Okay, so it would be my pointer finger?
It's the
Or
pointer
my-
finger.
The ring finger.
From the ring finger,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
And
not
do
the
you know
pointer
if that
finger.
whitish
It's disappointing.
smear or scrape was swabbed?
The entire acrylic nail is swabbed with the swab as part of the nail kit. So yes, it was swabbed.
So the tips of the nail was swabbed.
Yes, underneath, from the nail bed to the tip of the acrylic nail, that is was swabbed.
Okay. And do you know if the scrape or smear was on the outside of the fingernail?
I don't recall.
So you don't know if it was inside or outside
No.
the nail? All right.
How about your look?
Looking at the collection of fingernail evidence protocol for the Los Angeles County Department of Medical Examiner Coroner. Doesn't the protocol require that if fingernails are synthetic, swabbings must be collected in addition to clippings?
I believe it does say that in the manual, yes.
And acrylic nails are synthetic nails, correct?
Correct.
But that was not done in this case.
No, it was not.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
You really didn't do a good job, did you?
Please step down, thank you.
Defense and no
All right, next
questions.
witness.
The people call Nick Sanchez.
All right.
Oh, no, that was defense. Never mind.
Who's next?
Another witness, Samuel, Detective Samuel Marullo.
Oh, man.
Okay, detective, you get approach the witness stand, please.
DALI.
Raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly state that the testimony you're about to give and the cause now pending before this court should be the truth, of the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat.
Haven't we seen him
Please
before?
state and spell both your first and last name.
I don't know.
Samuel,
maybe not.
S-A-M-U-E-L, Marullo, M-A-R-U-L-L-O.
Marulo.
Mr. Underwood.
Thank you. Please tell the jury what is your...
Legit.
would be at- I
How
would be at
did
that.
the
I am
state
a detective.
think they were gonna
employed by the
be
city of Los
arrested
Angeles,
on Monday
currently
morning?
assigned to West Bureau Homicide.
I don't know.
How many years have you been a police officer?
November will be 27 years.
Almost
How
as
many
bad as the
years have you been a
Edgecombe trial.
detective?
Been a
Approximately.
homicide investigator for nearly 16 years.
Now, on February 15, 2020, were you assisting detectives in the investigation of the death of Amie Harwick?
Well, that'd be fun, wouldn't it, Eris?
And was one of your duties to take photographs of a defendant?
I really doubt it.
Of the suspect, Gareth
I know,
Pursehouse.
but it would be amazing.
To
Yeah.
ensure that photographs were taken of him, yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. I personally wasn't going to take them.
But you were there when the photographs were taken.
Yes, sir.
And was this done on February 16, 2020 at around 30 minutes past midnight?
Yes, sir.
And where was this done?
At Piper Tech, it's a LAPD facility on Ramirez Street.
This is a technical investigation department
They're located there amongst other entities.
I know,
here in
Eric.
downtown Los Angeles.
Yes, sir.
And do you see Gareth Pursehouse here in court today?
Yes, I do.
Can you please point out where he's
Really gone downhill.
situated and
Was
what he's doing today?
it's him.
He's
Tim,
seated
believe
it or
in front
not.
of defense counsel, the gentleman, and he's wearing glasses and a brown
Kind of nerdy.
sport jacket.
Identify the defendant.
And so you mentioned that you did not take the photographs, but someone else was taking photographs.
A TID
Defense.
photographer.
And can you tell the jury what does TID stand for?
So
It's Technical Investigation Division.
we don't know what he's needed for,
Unit falls
No.
under that.
but the defense seemed to.
And are you
Have
directing
some
the
reason,
photographer to
so-
take photographs of certain parts of Mr. Purshouse's body?
Yes, sir.
Looking here at People's Next in Order, it's a two-page exhibit. Two
There could be a
photographs.
twist.
One showing-
Who knows?
109, thank you. Looking at 109, you see that there?
Yes, sir.
You have to pick up your kid today or drop
zoom
her
in,
off.
and who is
Nah, she gets to
Mr.
sleep in
Purcell.
today.
That's it, how it appeared on February 16, 2020, just a little bit past midnight.
Yes, sir.
Zoom in.
Who's that?
Apparently the defendant.
No way.
Yeah.
Do you
Get
notice
out.
anything on his right eye?
Good looking man.
Yes.
No.
It's below his
How
right
does someone
eye,
change that
between his eye
much?
and his nose.
Prison, jail.
It was some bruising.
That okay, I'm pausing that. Wait,
You used that a crash.
Looking at the
wait.
photograph. Let's zoom in. And who is that?
Mr. Pursehouse.
That's how it appeared on February 16, 2020, just a little bit past midnight.
Yes, sir.
What is going on there? How is that the same person?
Yeah.
No. They've arrested the wrong guy. They have the wrong guy in prison.
Pursehouse is in jail, but like they got him confused with someone else and just dragged him, this random guy in jail, to court.
I am shooketh. That is wild.
Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, all along I've been trying to work out how he has picked up such hot chicks, and like he's not like super good looking, but he at least looks like a male. Like that is wow.
EU has a crush.
No, I don't. He's extremely pale, but I'm just blown away by how, like, the difference in the appearance. Like, that's, Eris, she looks completely different. Wow. Yeah, Kim, like, you don't even know who it is, right? Like, you could not pick that man out of a lineup if you had seen the guy on the stand, at the defense table. You could not even pick that man out and go, that's the same person.
Yeah.
Distant. I didn't say that I am not pale at all. I just am not that much of a fan of pale men. That's all. It's a preference thing.
Racist.
Yeah, sure. Call me racist. Cool. No problem. Anyway, yeah, that's mad. I'm just floored by that.
Zoom in. Do you notice anything on his right eye?
Yes.
What is that?
Oh,
It's below his right eye, between his eye and his nose. It was some bruising.
He's like looking at it going, yeah, I used to be such a good looker.
Is this a picture?
Those are the days. Oh, God.
His torso and arms.
Yes, sir.
Now, on his left arm, there appears to be a
Band-Aid.
Band-Aid of some sort. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you or other police officers place that Band-Aid on him?
No, sir.
Was that Band-Aid already on him when you met him?
Yes.
Did you have him remove that
You
Band-Aid?
think, Gareth?
Yes.
I look so much better
Have
3
another
years ago.
series
COVID really hit me
Two
hard.
photographs
Hey, COVID.
showing,
Yeah, blame COVID.
This
Yeah.
mark as people's next in order, 110. 110.
Hey, Christine.
A.
Sorry to assault your eyes with this.
Mr. Pursehouse, he's raising.
Well, whoever you like to look at it. Oh, my God. Look at him. He's so pleased with himself.
Camera is focused on
What is going
the
on with that?
bruise
What is that?
on his inner left bicep.
So you had him remove that Band-Aid.
I did, yes, sir.
And this is photograph B of this exhibit. Is that a close-up of that injury?
Yes, sir.
Mental health drugs. Ah,
And can you tell us
okay.
what is shown there?
Bruising with an abrasion in the center of the bruising.
Did it appear to you to be a fresh bruise or contusion?
Yes, sir.
What-
Yeah, that doesn't look like it's old.
I'm gonna ask,
That's
why
all.
would you- why would you
Hold
say-
on, what are you asking?
Did it appear to you to be a fresh abrasion, bruise or contusion?
Okay, you said appear. Did it appear to be fresh?
Yes, Your
And
Honor.
what are you basing that on?
Basing it on my observations and having the same type of injuries and witnessing those injuries throughout my 27-year career.
All right.
Okay, so why would you say it appeared to you to be a fresh bruise or contusion?
Just because of the color, sir, and because especially at the abrasion point, as well as the contusion itself surrounding the abrasion.
Thank you. A series of photographs of Mr. Pursehouse. This be marked people's A through O.
Yes.
We'll go quickly through this.
That's 111.
111, yes, thank you. 111A,
Ugh, dear me. Here I am in my jocks.
is this a photograph showing Mr. Pursehouse standing?
I know
nearby?
they have to do this,
Yes.
but how
Did he appear to
embarrassing.
be a muscular build?
Yes,
And would you say his height was approximately 6'4"?
yes,
How about it, would you approximate his weight about 230 or so pounds?
yes, sir.
230
Looking at 11.
pounds.
B,
Okay, I don't really
photograph
understand
showing his
pounds,
legs at that
but
time?
I know that
Yes, sir.
like
and there appears to be
RG
some
was supposed to be
scratches on his leg.
260
We can have the
pounds,
photographer zoom in
and he
on
was
those
a
scratches.
big man,
Yes.
Looking at photograph
like not just muscular,
C, does
but
that
like
show a
a
side
bit
profile
overweight.
of his right leg towards the
I
back
thought
and
he
his
was
left
much
leg
bigger than
in
that.
front?
Yes,
Photograph D, is that a photograph showing his legs and his inner thighs and whatever injuries you observed that day?
yes,
And photograph E, is this a close-up of his knee?
No, it's not.
yes,
And
That's
what
his
did you notice
elbow.
on his knee? On his, this would be his left knee, right? Left leg, left knee.
left, yes.
What did you notice here?
On the knee itself, there was a contusion as well as a small abrasion.
Looking at photograph F, it's a picture of his right knee and part of his right leg.
Yes, sir.
And can you tell us what is shown here?
Contusion or bruising on his knee as well as some abrasions, and then farther down to the bottom you'll see several scratches.
So, Eris,
Looking at
like asking
photograph
you, like,
G,
would you say
this
that
would be
now
a
with his
close-up
weight
of
gain,
his
he's more
right
like
leg,
260, or
Of those scratches you were just discussing?
Yes,
how
sir.
much weight do you think he's gained? Just
Me?
estimate.
Oh.
I was talking to Eris, but
That's
yeah,
what
what do you
it's
think?
yeah.
Like, if he's 230 pounds
His
there
lower leg
in
with
those
multiple
photos,
scratches.
Oh, probably easily
The
300.
scratches appear to be fresh.
so what'd you say?
Yes.
300
Why
probably.
would you say that?
300.
I've had hundreds of
Depends
scratches
how tall he is.
like that on my legs throughout my career.
Looking at photograph
Let me see if I can find out.
H, I'm gonna zoom out. Is this the interior part of his right knee and right
Hey,
leg?
Help Irish.
Yes.
And what is shown here?
You'll see more of the abrasion near the knee, near the contusion, as well as scratches to the lower portion of the photograph.
Photograph I,
Yeah, you'd think at least.
is that his right leg, the lower portion of his right leg?
He's 6'4", is he?
6'4".
And
Yeah.
is this another view of a scratch we just saw 2 photographs ago?
Several scratches.
Looking at photograph J, would this be his left, the interior part of his left leg?
Yeah, you gotta do
Yes.
a fight with Babu.
Tell us what is shown here. I'm going to zoom in on this.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what is shown here?
Scratching or scratches.
Photograph K, this appears to show his left knee, exterior portion of his left, from a view of the
Yeah,
side
when
of
you're
his
that
left
tall, it takes a lot of weight.
knee.
Like,
What is shown here?
it's spread out
A
over a lot
scratch,
bigger of an area.
but aggravated by an abrasion.
Looking at
I
photograph.
object to that answer, a big scratch aggravated by any.
One perk of being
I will
over
leave it,
6 foot.
I will leave it as scratch and an abrasion. The aggravating part will be stricken.
Thank you. Looking at photograph L. Does this show Lieutenant Purshouse's
Rawr.
inner right
What are we
leg
looking at here?
and knee?
Yes.
And were there any injuries in the inner right thigh area?
Ooh, my.
Yes.
And what was that?
If you could
What,
zoom in,
Darius?
I could-
Jesus, dude. Is that his testicle?
It was a bruise or a contusion.
And I zoomed in. With
So,
that photograph.
Well, I mean, was this guy nude when he attacked her?
And
Why does he have scratches on his leg?
that's actually a very good question.
Harris, thank
another
you.
view of
Good
that
point.
same injury.
And
Yes.
the rest of that clip was, I don't like women my age.
Photograph N, as in Nancy, is this his left leg, inner thigh? Can you strike whether he had any injuries on that leg?
Yes.
And what was that? And I don't know if you could see also his
Okay,
knee.
so you're saying that's from his
Zoom in.
escape, Harris? But still,
I
like,
would think it would be.
Shows what it's showing.
okay.
More of a
Yeah, I know.
What was he
Yes.
wearing?
toward the
Yeah,
upper
I
left
don't know. Like if it was
of the
shorts,
photograph.
maybe.
My upper
If
left.
he was wearing
as well as
shorts,
the
I could
lower
see
right.
that being from his escape.
And lastly, photograph O. This is a photograph of his right shoulder. I'll zoom out first and ask you, what were you trying to
Okay,
photograph
Farrell.
here?
Girl!
There was some superficial scratching, as I noted, on his, in the center of that photo.
It wasn't as deep as the other scratches on the left.
Objection leading.
Sister.
So you call it superficial scratches on this.
Faint.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, I have nothing further.
Cross-examination.
Just briefly. Good afternoon, Detective.
Good
Oh, I'm
afternoon,
sorry.
ma'am.
I forgot it. Forgot
I
to
wasn't
photograph.
done, ma'am.
That's okay, so my apologies.
Go ahead.
God.
I have 3 photographs of hands. Would this be marked people's next in order, number 112,
Yes.
112,
A through C?
A through
It
C?
wasn't purring.
You got
Or maybe
photographs
that
taken of his
was,
hands,
but not seriously.
correct?
Purring.
And looking here,
That's right, you were actually. You were making row noises.
it appears.
Okay, Farrell.
Well, did you see any kind of bruising, any kind of
Pretty
scratches on his
straightforward.
hands?
Nothing of note.
DM me
You
and
did
we'll
notice
figure it
bruising
out.
and abrasions on other parts of his body,
Yes, sir.
but not on his hands.
Correct.
He would have had a chance to
Photograph B of this
change.
exhibit, did you?
I don't think they have any
turn over
picture.
his hands over,
No.
Did you see any scratches or bruises on?
We do
on
have the
his-
video of
on
him.
the palm of his hands.
I don't remember what he was wearing, but I know
I
we
did
have the
not.
Ring doorbell video of him like coming up like a ninja and putting
Photograph
tape over it.
C, did you do a close-up photo of one of his hands to see if there were any scratches or bruises on his hands?
I did.
And did you notice any?
Not really.
Thank you. I have nothing
You're
further.
welcome.
All right, counsel.
Thank you. Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
So when you first,
Counsel.
when Mr. Pursehouse first arrived at
I think she should just stop and be like,
accompanied
"I'm
by
sorry,
two
were you
uniformed
done?"
officers,
Yes, ma'am.
and they had transported him from another location to Piper Tech so that you could meet them there and supervise the photography of Mr. Pursehouse. Is that correct?
Exactly.
And
I love
who
my
had
job.
authorized this photographing of Mr. Pursehouse?
What was a recommendation by the lead detectives? It's something we normally do.
Yeah.
in
They asked him to
situations
strip
such as this.
down and for me to get on my knees
Normally,
and examine his
ask
thighs.
detainees to be strip searched in that way?
It depends on what the person's detained for, but strip searches are normal with violent felonies.
So who authorized a strip search in this case?
Bet he's a lot less eager to
I'm not
do the
privy
strip
to
search
the booking approval
3 years ago.
regarding who authorized a strip search, but I wouldn't call this a strip search that's prior to booking. This would be photographing the person, whether they have injuries or not.
And were you
I'm
looking?
gonna object if the witness hasn't completed his answer.
Were you finished, sir?
I was almost finished.
All right, go ahead.
Depending on the situation, of course.
That was kind of
So-
a smack.
You had Mr. Pursehouse remove his underwear for photographs,
Oh.
I directed him to, yes.
and several
I love my
photographs were
job.
taken of his naked body.
Of his penis.
Yes.
And
The
the
word you're looking
area
for is
where his
penis.
underwear would normally be, did you find anything of any significance?
Just a penis.
in that
Interesting.
location? On either his buttocks?
Just a
his
penis and two
penis,
testicles.
Or any area that would have been concealed by underwear?
I did not.
But you continued to photograph that area anyway.
What?
Well,
You're
when
kind of a
say
creep,
area,
sir,
it
aren't
was
you?
an
Not letting
overall
it up.
photograph of his whole entire body to show a lack of, or to determine whether or not there was an injury.
Would you have expected to find injuries on his penis area?
Objection, argumentative.
Well, it's
No, it's not
calling
argumentative.
speculation, sustained.
What's not the right object?
When you told Mr. Pursehouse what you were going to be doing in terms of photographing him, did you describe it to him as a full body scan?
Objection relevant.
Oh, Lord.
I didn't use that verbiage, but I 100% explained the process to him to alleviate any of his fears. He was very inquisitive, and I took the time to answer each of his questions.
was
He's
nice
very
of you.
You don't
inquisitive.
recall using the term
So
full body scan?
are you gonna
No,
you
Would
gonna
that
take
be
photos of my
inaccurate to
penis?
call it a full body scan?
it's just verbiage I wouldn't have used. in
Sounded
this
like he just wanted to
situation.
know why you're taking photos of his dick.
I know. Like, why do you have a ruler, sir?
And how long did this process take?
And he did.
The process in terms of the actual photography,
Yes.
maybe 10 minutes,
10
10 to
minutes?
15 minutes tops.
Maybe 20,
Photography.
25. No more than 40.
You don't recall
50
being there
minutes.
closer to half an hour?
There's a difference between being there and then the photography portion, and that's what I'm trying to differentiate from. Because we had to wait for the studio to be set up.
There's a little
We were definitely
foreplay
there
involved.
longer than a half hour, yes ma'am.
So
You
you're
like to
saying
snuggle.
from the beginning of the photography to the end of photography was only 10 minutes?
10 to 15.
10 to 15?
Yes,
No,
ma'am.
no more than 15?
I'm giving you my best estimate.
What is going on
20
here?
minutes?
I don't think it was. I think it was 15,
So
It
you're
was pretty
you're
quick.
saying
I
no
can't
more than
last that
15
long,
minutes.
man.
to the best of my recollection, yes ma'am.
And while Mr. Pursehouse was naked, the people present were you, the two uniformed patrol officers, and the photographer.
Vegas, while he was naked the entire time.
Well, while he was naked, I don't know if that was it. I don't think it was the entire time, right? It was a portion of the time.
You're right, Your Honor.
Okay, were there people present what was your question?
My question is, during the period of time when he was naked, there were 4 people present. You, the 2 uniformed officers, and the photographer.
Yes ma'am.
Sir, do your
And
parents know what
each
you
of the
do for a
photos
living?
that we've seen here today were the poses that Mr. Pursehouse were in were as a result of instructions given to him by either you or the photographer. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mr. Pursehouse didn't just decide how he was going to stand in order to determine how
I
he
asked him to do,
photograph.
like, you
Is
know,
that
a
right?
runway
You're
show.
And you would give him instructions like look up, and then a photograph
Cool.
would be
Touch your
taken.
nipples.
Yes ma'am.
And you would give him an instruction to squat and open up his legs, and a
Ooh.
photograph would be taken.
I took a lot
Yes,
of
ma'am.
pictures of that.
And you would tell him to stand with one foot in front of the other and bend his legs, and a photograph would be taken.
Yes ma'am.
And Mr.
What?
Pursehouse
Are you
was
taking
cooperative-
photos or doing
cooperative
twisters,
throughout
sir?
this Process.
He was.
Thank you, nothing further.
Anything?
Nothing.
Thank you, officer. You may step down.
Your Honor, some people would like to call Nick Sanchez.
All right.
Oh, that was hot.
That was
So creepy.
and that was obscene. Like, okay, you know what though? They probably have every right to do all that stuff to him.
Yeah.
Mr. Sanchez, if you could
We have to
And-
collect
please stand here,
evidence.
please.
I just would not volunteer for that
But
job.
that's shit. That is shit.
Raise your right hand.
Oh
You
boy.
solemnly state that the testimony you're about to give and the cause now pending
Who
before
is
this court
this?
shall be the truth and the whole truth
Howard
and nothing
Stern
but the truth, so
lookalike?
help you God.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat.
Is that a man or a woman? Well, it's California.
know.
Who knows?
Please state and spell
Yeah,
what your
sure.
first and last name.
Okay, no, it's a woman.
Nick Sanchez, Nick Sanchez.
All right, Ms. Mariano.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm currently retired, but I retired from the LAPD. I retired as a criminalist with the LAPD.
Were you employed
There was some
by
issues with
LAPD
OJ,
as a
so
criminalist
I
back
got
in
out of
February
Dodge.
of 2020?
Yes, I was.
What were your duties?
Doge.
Were your duties as a criminalist?
Back at this time, I was assigned to what they call the field investigation unit. So my responsibilities included going on call and then responding to crime scenes when I was needed.
And what is your background, training, experience that qualifies you to be a field investigator or a field criminalist?
Well, I have a Bachelor of Science degree in medical technology from Cal State LA. I have some graduate level coursework in genetics and molecular biology from Cal State Fullerton. Upon being hired by LAPD, I received in-house training in regards to field work. That included
A lot of sensitivity training.
lectures, readings, demonstrations,
LAPD doesn't have the
and
best
some mock
reputation.
crime scenes.
Now I want to turn your attention to February 15th of 2020 at around 11:30 in the morning. Were you at the location of 2086 Mound Avenue in the city and county of Los Angeles?
Yes,
Why did you report to that location on that date and time?
because I was on call. I received a phone call from a detective who indicated that he needed a criminalist at this location for a crime scene.
Did you arrive alone?
No, I arrived with another criminalist.
And who was that?
That would be Jennifer Francis.
Would it be fair to say that you and Jennifer Francis processed the crime scene at Mound 2086 Mound together?
Yes,
Upon arrival, did you speak to law enforcement?
yes, I did.
What's the purpose of you speaking to a law enforcement when you arrive?
Well, when I first arrive at a crime scene, it's important to gather information. So typically what we would do is, or what I will do is I will speak with the detective in charge, and then we will do what's called a walkthrough, where they will walk me through the crime scene. They may point out certain things or give me information as we're walking through.
Did you also speak to photographers?
Yes,
Now, do you direct photographers to take specific photographs?
I do, yes.
Do they also take their own overall photographs of the crime scene?
They do, yes.
Now, you talked about doing a walkthrough of this location. Did you conduct a walkthrough of the exterior of the residence?
Yes, I did.
I'm showing you what's been previously marked as People 79. Did you notice anything of evidentiary value during a walkthrough of the exterior of the residence?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as People 79. What did you see?
Well, in this photo here, the blue doors, they are French doors that lead into the living room of the house. I did notice that the doors were damaged.
I'm zooming in on People 79.
I just
pointing
am reading
to
that now,
the
Phil.
area of the
That's a
French
great
doors.
idea.
Is that the area in which you observed damage from the exterior?
Yes, it is.
During your initial observation, did you see any biological materials with your naked eye that necessitated collection at that time?
Yes.
Now, after doing a walkthrough of the exterior of the residence, did you go to a different location aside from 2086 Mount?
Yes, I did.
Was that location around the area of Ivar Street and Vine?
Yes, it was.
At that location, was there any evidence that was collected there?
Yes.
And what item of evidence was that?
I'm going to refer to my notes on that.
With the court's permission?
Yes.
I collected some speaker wire from that location.
And When you collected it, I'm sorry, who collected it, you or Miss Francis?
That was collected by Francis.
And what happened once she collected that item of evidence?
Eventually, it was booked in the property.
Now, as you're collecting evidence throughout the household, whether it be yourself or Miss Francis, where's that evidence stored?
As we're working the crime scene, I will have a bag which is labeled evidence. That bag will stay with me throughout the crime scene. So as I'm collecting evidence and moving from room to room, I'm taking that bag with me, putting more evidence into it.
Is Miss Francis also doing the same?
She is.
Now, we were referring to something that you collected over around Ivar and Vine Street. I'm showing you what's been previously marked as People's 79C. Is that the item that you collected?
Yes.
And is this yellow sign that I'm pointing to an evidence marker that is utilized by you?
Yes.
Is that utilized by you throughout your evidence collection of a crime scene?
Yes. Not this same marker, but markers similar to this.
Now, after going to this location of Ivar and Vine, did you proceed back to 2086 now?
Yes, we did.
Did you continue to do an exterior walkthrough of the residence?
Yes.
Pursehouse
Did
or
that
him?
walkthrough take you to the backyard?
Wasn't he an
residence?
Independence
It did.
Day?
I'm showing you what's been previously marked as People's
Like the
EDA.
doctor?
I'm sorry, EDC. Did you observe the items that are depicted in People's EDC?
Yes, I did.
And when taking a look at these items in the exterior backyard of 2086, was evidence collected at that time?
Yes.
I'm going to name a few items, and please let me know whether or not those items were booked into evidence. A hair scrunchie,
Yes.
and that was evidence marker, signified by evidence marker number 2, is that correct?
That is correct.
A dress, signified by evidence marker number 3.
Yes, that was correct.
A hair extension from a sprinkler by
Best
evidence marker number 5.
Yes.
An earring, which is marked by evidence marker number 6.
Yes.
Yes.
See,
A
guys?
medallion with a chain, which is marked by evidence marker number 7.
Yes.
Some boots, which is number 8.
Yes.
And an arm statue, which is number 9.
Yes.
Just without the
Now, I
beard.
know not all of those evidence markers are depicted in People's ADC, but those were collected and booked by you, is that correct?
They were.
Were some of the items I just mentioned also booked by Miss Francis?
No, but I should clarify. She collected some of these items, but I did all the booking.
Okay. So of the items that I just mentioned, which ones were collected by Miss Francis?
Number 3, the clothing. Number 4, the red stain.
Are you referring to your notes?
Yes.
If we can just
Can you
note that
not?
for the record.
Noted.
Please proceed, Mr. Sanchez.
Can you
Thank you.
refresh your recollection, then look up and answer, sir?
And number 7, the
We have
medallion.
procedures. What's he thinking about?
Now you mentioned number 4,
What
and
is
that
her
was collected
piercings?
by Miss Francis,
Yes.
and this appears to be a stain on the pavement, is that correct?
Correct.
Could you indicate how this specific item of evidence was collected by Miss Francis?
We use something called cotton swabs to collect blood stains like this. They basically
very
look like a
technical.
large Q-tip. So we take sterile water, apply that to the Q-tip, that's applied to the stain. What we're attempting to do is rehydrate the stain and for the swab to kind of soak up the blood stain. Once that's done, it's packaged and it remains there until I process it and book it.
Is that the process that Miss Francis followed?
Yes.
Was she wearing gloves at the time she took a swab of this stain?
Yes.
And was a single swab taken?
She swept.
It was a
Hello.
single swab, yes.
And how was that packaged after the swab was taken?
You don't know?
It's
what?
about as live as it
Something
could
called
be,
paper
see?
bindle, and then that paper bindle goes into a coin envelope, which is labeled with all the relevant information I need.
So it's kind of live.
Showing you what's been marked as People's EDG. You're referring to an envelope and a bindle. Is that the envelope and bindle?
Hello,
which
baker people.
the evidence item number 4, the stain was collected?
Yes.
Nice to see
Is that
you.
how biological samples are collected in that procedure that you just explained.
They are, yes.
I want to turn your attention to, again, the backyard. Was there any other stains that you saw in the backyard that you believe necessitated your collection?
There was nothing that was collected. But
Shizzy as
based
well.
on what I observed and tested.
Hello.
Tell us about that.
In the rear.
How are you guys?
In the
Good to see you,
backyard.
Digger.
I'm just going to request that the witness turn his report over unless he's refreshing his recollection.
All right, whenever you think you have to refresh your recollection, just advise the court.
Please,
Anytime you
sir.
turn your report over, if you will. All right. Good.
You may continue your answer.
So, I'm sorry, what?
You may continue your answer.
So in the rear, along the property line in the
Hey,
backyard,
dear.
there was an area where we were sitting and working. And before sitting, I looked down and observed what maybe could have been blood. So to be sure, I tested it, and
Turned out it was Kool-Aid.
testing indicated it was not blood.
What kind of testing did you do in order to make that indication?
I
Maybe it
do
was
something
Kool-Aid.
called a phenolphthalein test,
Maybe.
and that is basically just a screening test for blood.
And because it was negative, you didn't collect a sample from that?
That's correct.
Now turning your attention to another portion of the
Hey,
backyard
Mimsy.
Mimsy.
depicted in People's 83B. Do you recognize this area?
This is for number 10. May I refer to my notes?
Your Honor, with the court's permission?
Well, would it refresh your recollection?
Yes.
All right.
Can't you tell what that is, dude?
Yes, I recognize this.
And is this an area in
Oh,
the
in sub
backyard in
two.
which a biological sample was collected?
Yes.
And who was it collected by?
I'm going to refer to my notes, please.
But I'll do it the right way this time.
This was collected by Francis.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as People's C, which is a more close-up version. Do you recognize better what is depicted in People's C?
Yes.
And what is it?
It's what we call a photo ID number 10 on top of a fence.
And what type of biological sample was collected here?
We were attempting to collect something called possible biological material, and that is if I handle something for a certain amount of time and apply enough pressure to it, it is possible for me to transfer DNA to that item, and it's possible that I can swab and collect it, and it can be tested.
And was this chain link fence as depicted in evidence marker 10 swabbed by Ms. Francis?
Yes, it was.
And was that packaged in the same manner that you described earlier?
It was.
Now, after going through the exterior of the backyard, did you also go to a neighbor's property and collect evidence there?
I did.
And was that a skillet, which is evidence marker number 11?
Yes.
Now, in addition to collecting that item of evidence, did you then proceed to do a walkthrough of the inside of the residence?
I did.
Now, where did you go once you proceeded inside of 2086?
I believe we started in the living room area and
Yes,
then moved upstairs into the bedroom areas.
Now, did you observe anything?
Two areas. It's more like vertical, like out that way, rather than this one's hair's a bit limp in comparison.
Yeah.
Limp.
Showing you what's been previously marked as People's 85. Does this depict the area in which you observed generally stains that necessitated your collection?
Yes.
I'm showing you.
If you're not a member of the Making More Simple network, you are missing out on all the cookies and news, and all of the background chit chat,
as 86B.
all the memes, all the fun, and also, of course, the live alerts to all of the
Directly
channels.
to the left of the scale,
And there are so many. There's about 8 or 10
which is one of the
channels
stains I
that are on
collected.
the network.
How did you go about collecting this particular stain?
This stain was collected in the manner I described earlier, using a cotton swab and sterile water. The cotton swab was wet with the water. The swab was then applied to the stain, and the swab was used to soak up the stain.
Earlier, you referenced conducting or seeing Miss Francis. Let me back up and re-ask the question. Earlier, you were talking about a stain that you had found and conducted a phenolphthalein screening test.
Yes,
Did you conduct such a screening test on this stain?
I did, yes.
And in doing so, what was the indication based on that screening test?
That gave me a positive result.
As a result of a positive result, for what?
Well, it's a screening test for blood because when we're out at a crime scene, I don't want to be collecting something that isn't evidence. So it gives me a little more of an indication that this stain I'm looking at could be blood and it warrants collection.
Good stain.
So because of this positive indication of blood, did you collect this particular stain?
I did,
Now, you observed other stains in that area as well, is that correct?
yes.
I'm showing you what's been marked as People's 87,
I love it, Digger. That's cool.
as People's 88A. And this is another photograph, and I'm pointing to an evidence marker where it says 14. Do you see that?
Yes.
What is that depicting?
That 14 there is depicting a scale to the left of a stain on the door.
I can see this guy like playing guitar in a
Close-up of the mark.
like a blues band or something.
Yeah.
Which would be fatigued, is how I'm
But that's the
interpreting.
way you meant it?
Yes.
Okay.
I could ask that question as well. Do you want me to clear it, to make
So
it clear?
Are you saying, what did you ask, what did you,
What's going on?
Which would be fatigued, is how I'm
but that's the
interpreting.
way you meant it?
Yes.
Okay.
I could ask that question as well.
It was like on loop for
Do
a
you want me
second.
to clear it, to make
So
it clear?
Are you saying, what did you ask the question again?
Hang on,
Sure.
it's still on loop.
Would you expect the decedent to be fatigued
I'm
after
not
being
doing
strangled?
that.
Yes.
No, it's their video.
Yeah. Huh.
Now, I want to talk about the shoulders. Are there injuries that you observed to the shoulders?
Oh, he's interested.
Yes.
And what were those injuries that you observed to the shoulders?
So I'm going to look at my notes before I.
All right.
Show
So
us
she had
a line.
an
How are you, a
abrasion
line?
on her anterior right shoulder, but more interestingly to me, it was a patterned contusion on the front of her right shoulder, and then she had a patterned contusion on the back of her right shoulder. So the one on the front shoulder was oval shaped, but had clearing in the center of that oval. The one on the back of the shoulder was circular shaped, but it had clearing again in the back of the shoulder. So this is on the right shoulder again. So my thoughts is that this is some kind of grasping motion where fingers are pressing, finger and thumb are pressing on the shoulders. What that does is cause the blood right under the skin where the thumb and finger are being applied rushes out, and it breaks the blood vessels surrounding where that impression is. So that's why you have that clearing in the center, but blood around it.
Now, I want to talk to you about her hands.
Ooh.
Did you observe any injuries
Like
to
a hemorrhage
the decedent's
underneath the
hands?
skin.
Yes.
And what were those injuries that you observed?
Again, sir, I need to review a lot of it. There were a lot of injuries to her hands.
What was that?
So she had a lot of contusions on her fingers, on her knuckles. So they're all contusions.
Pixie!
There is one. There is some
Hello.
abrasions on her knuckles, but she also had abrasions on the back and the sides of her hands, both hands.
Now, I want to show
She's
you
from
some
falling,
photos.
wouldn't it? Oh no. Would she have
What's been
fallen?
previously marked as People's 47, 48,
Oh, weird.
49, 50, and 51.
Like she
And I'll go through the
fell and tried to break her fall.
Yeah, I mean, it depends
48,
how she went over, I guess. And like,
Yeah.
it's not she's not
49.
like a cat, so
Yeah, nah.
doesn't land on her feet.
51. And I'd like to mark another photo, Your Honor, as People's next in order.
Starts licking herself.
17.
Oh God, stop
Showing you
it,
what's
Sal.
marked as People's 117. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes, was taken by the autopsy tech. prior to the autopsy.
And does this also document the injury that you observed to?
Oh yeah, sometimes that
deceased's
happens. It's
Yes,
happened
and
once
just to point
before.
out, if you look at
They
all the
mess
knuckles,
up
her middle finger, ring
their
finger,
editing.
and little finger
Who are you
all
talking
have
about?
bruises
Talking
on
to,
it,
and what are you talking
on
about, Sal?
the knuckles.
Apparently the
Called
witness changed.
Proximal
Yeah, it
interphalangeal
did.
joint, but the closer knuckle.
Show you the 5 photos, I'm sorry, the 6 photos of the hands that I just showed.
I
you.
just assumed I
um,
wasn't paying
That actually
attention.
document
It's
the injuries that you observed in the decedent's hands.
Yes.
No,
Are
it's
those
long.
injuries that you
crimes.
observed consistent with
And there's
assault
actually,
type wounds?
I
They
wonder
can't-
if that had something to do with
Mhm.
the glitch in the Matrix earlier,
Mm.
right? Because it
Oh yeah,
looped. It went through a
yeah,
really weird loop, and then a second later, well, it wasn't like
yeah,
immediately, but then there was a new witness,
yeah,
right? So, lawn bad crim,
yeah.
dudes, like someone's smoking some wacky weed out the back, and they're just smushing bits together.
Yeah.
This guy's slap, 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 and yeah, that'll do. End of that witness, put that witness in there,
Yeah,
stuff the swearing in, and I don't know if we've even missed some testimony. We might have.
maybe, but oh well. You want to turn it up to 1.25?
Yeah, right. Why not? Let's get this bad boy going.
I believe Court TV has the feed, I would imagine, and then Law and Crime gets a copy, and then they chop it all up.
Yep. like Chazzle Dazzle. And I
Yeah,
really need to get back to Chazzle Dazzle, but probably not till next week.
Those that are on the knuckles, you imagine throwing a punch, and the first thing that's going to hit the object you're punching are your knuckles. So those contusions on the knuckles would be an assaultive
They're a bit
type
small
of-
for his face,
of
yeah.
injury.
Are those injuries you observed to the decedent's hands consistent with
They're
defensive?
like those
types
ones
of
that
injuries?
expert
The ones
was
on the
wearing.
backs of her hands and the sides of her
In the
hands
recent
are
trial,
more
and they were
consistent
up
with her
here on
trying
his
to
head.
block any blows that were
Oh,
coming
yeah.
her way.
yeah. I
Remember
mean,
that
like,
one?
And would
yeah.
you,
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
and I don't want to. Would like to add that you can see that in the external diagram on the torso, but she had injuries farther up her forearms and on her arms too, also consistent with blocking those blows.
Your Honor, I've
Well,
heard
cheap
that
labor, all unread.
People's 118.
Yes.
And showing you what's been marked as People's 118. Is this a document that's authored by you?
Yes,
And again, do these document the injuries that you observed to the decedent's hands?
yes,
Now, you talked about these injuries or being consistent with someone holding up their hands. Is that correct?
yes,
So you would expect to see these injuries if someone was attempting to defend themselves.
yes.
Now, if the decedent were to
I know,
brace
right,
herself
Eris?
from a fall from
It's like
21
conspiracy
feet being
theories
defeated
galore.
by holding out her hands, would you expect to see a different pattern of injuries than the ones you've notated?
Well, if she's assuming that she's landing on her palms, I would expect some kind of injury to the palms. Now, the palms take a lot of pressure to cause injury, but I would suspect that a fall from a height would be adequate to cause injuries to the palms.
Did you see any injuries to the palms?
I did not.
Were there any fractures to her hands?
There were no fractures to her hands or forearms or arms.
Now, did you observe injuries to the decedent's legs?
Yes, she had similar abrasions and contusions on her extremities, lower extremities.
Now, if the decedent were to fall from a height of 21 feet and land feet first, would you expect to see a different pattern of injuries than what you observed from the decedent?
Yes, and as I was studying for this case, there was a classic picture in one of my textbooks
Yeah.
of an individual who falls onto their feet
Opining.
and causes lacerations, so breaks in the skin of the soles of the feet, and then the lower extremity bones, the tibia and the fibula, are driven through the feet into those injuries on the feet. I did not see that in this case.
Now, based upon your examination of the decedent, are you able to determine the cause of death?
Yes,
What is the basis of your conclusion?
all those injuries we've been discussing throughout the whole testimony.
And what is her cause of death?
So blunt force injuries of the head and torso,
And what is her manner of death?
homicide.
Thank you, Dr.
Homicide.
Cross-examination. Who's cross-examining?
I am.
We'll start tomorrow at 9:30.
Your Honor, make an approach about scheduling with the witness.
I'm struggling with this, Eris. I don't actually know which way she landed. I've been listening to this for what, 5 days? And I know she was face up in the photos,
Yeah.
but I don't know whether like she landed this way and then rolled, because if her hands had injuries here and here,
Mhm.
then that says to me that, I mean, unless she got those injuries some other way, like she must have landed like that way and
Yeah.
rolled, but that doesn't really make any sense, does it?
No.
She would be on her face.
Yeah.
I suppose this goes actually to him assaulting her prior.
Oh, God damn it, Shelley.
What?
Number 14.
I wasn't even paying attention.
Is that a close-up of the stain that you just testified to?
Yes.
Did you also conduct a phenolphthalein screening test on this stain?
On this stain, I did not.
Why not?
The stain I tested right before this was only probably about maybe a foot apart or less. I didn't feel the need to
How are you,
test it.
Matt?
Stain was in close proximity to the other stain that was tested.
Oh, this guy's back.
And the type of stain looked
Oh,
similar,
what happened?
so I didn't test it.
Did you collect this swab of this particular stain?
I did.
Okay,
Now, did you see any other
I'm on
stains?
No,
drugs.
the judge just said they were done for the day, so they
I did.
had the last witness.
That would be labeled as photo ID
Out of
13.
order.
It was a stain on the floor.
I'm showing
Or
you
they
what's
time
considered
travel.
equals 87. And I'm pointing to an evidence marker on the left here. I know the number's not appeared. But is that
It's
where
like
the
a
stain
Quentin
is
Tarantino
that you
movie.
I know.
observed near the French door area on the floor?
Yes.
Showing you 87.
Irish. To be sure, to be sure.
C. Are you able to see that stain more closely in 87C?
Ah, what a lovely lassie she
Now,
is.
taking a look at this stain on the floor, did you conduct your phenolphthalein screening test on this stain?
I did.
And what was the indication based on that
See.
screening test?
It was positive.
As a result of that, did you then take a swab of this particular stain?
Yes.
Now I'm going to
I know, right, Eris?
turn your attention
What's
to
going on?
the upstairs area of the home. Did you proceed with your walkthrough of the upstairs area of the home?
Yes, I did.
Were items located on the second floor in which you collected?
Yes.
Now, were one of those items a jacket with evidence marker number 15?
Yes.
And was another one of those items a cross with metal beads as evidence marker number 16?
Yes.
And were those collected by you or by Detective Francis?
Both 15
I'm sorry,
and
not Detective,
yeah.
it's Francis, I apologize.
Both 15 and 16 were collected by Francis.
And you were present during that collection, is that correct?
I was.
Showing you what's been marked as people's 89A. Is 15 the jacket I'm pointing to with my finger?
Yes.
And 16 is in the middle portion of the photograph, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, was there biological samples that were collected in the hallway of the area that I just showed you?
There was a sample collected.
Good
I don't
point,
know if it was
see?
biological.
But one of the
Showing you
shapeshifters
what's
was
been
good.
marked as people's 91A with an evidence marker of 17.
But
Is
okay,
this
so my
the
question
evidence
is, which
collection
one
that
is the
took place in the
shapeshifter?
hallway
Is it
area?
the
Yes.
Now, you said
curly
you
haired
don't
guy
know
that's there
biological.
now,
What did
or
you
the
mean?
one that replaced him?
Maybe
Or
it's the
both.
judge.
Blood thing, but it was an area that was wet. And my thought was, it
Look, I've been
could
sus
be
on him
urine,
from the beginning.
but there's
I
no
know.
test for urine. So I went ahead and I just collected it.
Why
So
did you believe
maybe
it could be urine?
that's his normal appearance, the judge, and then he
Just walking through
shapeshifts.
it, I remember it being kind of like a little bit sticky.
And he's immortal,
Is
so
it-
he could have
Just
been
walking
an
through it,
Austrian
it's
painter.
sometimes on bathroom floors. So
True.
that's why I thought to myself, I don't think this is water, it's something else. Maybe it's urine.
Oh,
That
urine.
led me to collect
Ew.
it.
Yeah,
And was that
yeah, he
collected by
peed
you?
there. Yeah,
17 was
supernatural.
collected
The
by me.
And how did you go about collecting
Can you
this?
pause it for a sec?
Sure.
I collected this sample just as I would blood.
Okay.
So I used a cotton swab.
Supernatural ending, the last few seasons were really amazing. If they had ended it one episode before, it would have been the perfect ending. But no, they had to go ahead and do one more episode and ruin it. I am so pissed. Anyways, I'm sorry. That it just
No, that's
they
fine.
had the perfect ending and they blew it by going one episode more. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's just like after everything that they went through. Carry on.
Carry on. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, Mads. Supernatural did end, which actually that pissed me off too because like season 6, 7, 8, 9 were not great. 9 I think started to get better. They weren't great. But then the show actually really went into different things that were really, really good. And they had so much content there they could work with. And then they just end it. And then they have this amazing second to last episode that was perfect. And then they do one more episode and just ruin it. Why?
Okay.
Go ahead.
You can keep opining about that, which, by the way, is a great word.
Yes, it is.
It's an excellent word.
Eris.
And my work here has done
I have
another child you out.
ADHD.
Yeah. Nah, it's fine, because you know what? I'm here to press play.
Sterile water. Just swab the area with the swab. Try to collect what was on the floor onto the swab.
Now I'm going to show you another photograph. Did you also collect any evidence in the bedroom area upstairs?
I did, yes.
And in what area did you collect evidence in? Well, let me be more specific. I'm showing you what's been marked as People's 93. Do you recognize this area?
I do.
Do you see the evidence marker of 19?
Yes.
Did you collect evidence from this area?
Brenton.
I did.
Showing you what's been marked as 93B.
Hey, Brennan.
Can you describe
How's
It's
it
the
going?
testosterone, dude.
I'm going to refer to my notes on that.
Ah, yeah,
So
that's it.
19 was a red stain.
It's the testosterone. Blame the
And did you
testosterone.
conduct
Always
your
the
Well, yeah.
screening
testosterone.
test in this
Well, I only
instance?
had half the
Was
dose
there a positive indication of
the
blood?
other day.
There was.
Did you then swab it in the same process which you described earlier?
I did.
Now,
Yeah, Brandon, I
did
haven't seen
notice
you for a
any
bit.
other,
I know.
stains that may have appeared to
Thought
be
I
blood
scared you away.
in the vicinity?
I did not.
No, I haven't seen Brandon
Now,
around
there are
at all.
other swabs that were taken from the upstairs area, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been previously marked as People's 94 with an evidence marker of 20.
Yes.
Was there a swab taken
Yep.
of this vein?
Can't always blame the
Considering-
shot.
There was.
I
mostly
screwed
from
up the
handle
shot
areas
and
of
it
this
really hurt.
dresser.
And
Oh,
why
that.
is that?
Okay.
Again,
I
I'm
think
trying
C
to
was
collect
talking
what we
about
call possible
the
biological
shot.
material. So if someone had opened the dresser drawers,
No, I don't
there's
have
always
the
possibility that
COVID
there could be
vaccine.
DNA there.
Don't you?
Showing you what's been previously marked as People's 95A.
Taking
Did you also
risks.
swab this area?
Oh,
Yes.
Why did you
vacay.
swab this area?
Same reason, an attempt
Nice.
to collect
Nice.
possible biological material.
No,
Now, what is it
testosterone.
with possibly finding biological material?
What is it with people at the
Was this
moment?
done at
Everyone's
direction of
going on
detectives
holidays.
or
MLS
know.
has been on
was
2
itself
holidays.
necessary to collect?
It's something we felt
Nick went on
was,
holidays.
necessary
Bacon
to
went on
collect.
holidays.
It's pretty standard when you're working a crime scene like this.
So is
So
every
many
item of evidence you
holidays.
collect directed by detectives?
No. Sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's at my direction.
I'm showing you what's been marked as People's 96A. Do you recognize that?
I do.
Now that depicts evidence markers 22 and 23.
Yes.
Were swabs taken of this area?
Yes.
Why is that?
True, Steve.
Using some of the testing we have available to us,
Let's
we
go
had what we believe to be semen stains.
He does,
both where 22 is
like
and where
to
23 is.
And what
morph and
made you come to that
change
conclusion?
into different beings.
I remember going into the bedroom and seeing the bed was undone. And my first thought was, it's possible somebody was in the bed, maybe waiting for her. So we thought, if this
Yeah,
person
Shelley, I
ran-
saw your tag. It was funny.
Overrule, I mean, is it because of the way that you were thinking you undertook some action?
Yes,
Okay, well, it's not being offered for the truth, but explains why you undertook some subsequent conduct. Go ahead.
just because of the type of crime it was, my thought was, if somebody was there waiting for the victim to return home, it's possible he was masturbating in the bed. So my thought, as a criminalist, some of the worst crime scenes was, I'm going to look for semen. So we checked the bed and
What?
the area surrounding the bed for semen.
Oh, he knows to look for semen.
We used
Is
something
that?
called,
Did he
ultimate
just say
light source,
masturbating in the
ultimate
bed?
black light, using
Wait, did he?
colored
I think he
goggles
did.
and a black light.
Well, we
Semen
got to
was
go
kind of-
back.
We do.
Had what we believe to be semen stains, both where 22 is and where 23 is.
And what made you come to that conclusion?
I remember going into the bedroom and seeing the bed was undone. And my first thought was, it's possible somebody was in the bed, maybe waiting for her. So we thought, if this person
Object
waited,
as to foundation and speculation.
Overrule, I mean, is it because of the way that you were thinking you undertook some action?
yes,
Okay, well, it's not being offered for the truth, but explains why you undertook some subsequent conduct. Go ahead.
just because of the type of crime it was, my thought was if somebody was there waiting for the victim to return home, it's possible he was masturbating in the bed.
See?
So my thought as a criminal, some of the
See?
Franklin's was
See? See?
So
This is why I'm here, right?
Jeez, not only did he unalive her, he jerked off on her bed?
We use something
No, he's opining that that
Using,
might have happened.
Colored goggles and a black light. The semen will kind of like, it will kind of glow or fluoresce.
Oh, semen would glow?
Indication that might be semen.
Well,
if I
semen.
did that, I'll follow that up with something called an AP test, which is a chemical test for semen.
And because of that testing and the alternative light source you used, you took swabs of those two areas?
I did, yes.
I'm showing you what's been previously. Well, did you go onto the balcony of the bedroom area?
I did.
And was evidence collected in the balcony area?
Yes.
What's been previously marked as people's
Thank
29.
you.
Do you recognize this area?
I do.
Is that the balcony
In
area?
his
you went
defense,
to
he was there for
connecting
4
to the
hours.
bedroom of the upstairs?
Yes.
I mean, what's a guy got to do to preoccupy his time?
Close up of
Rub one out.
the balcony of 29C. Do you recognize what's depicted there?
I do.
Did you collect that particular
Yeah, don't
Jeez,
breathe
that
that.
was in a
Alternate
bathroom
light
on the
source to
floor.
Sal's house.
Subsequent testing done in regards, or swabbing
Don't
done
do that
in
in
regards
bed.
to this particular syringe?
Yes.
And what kind of swabbing was done?
Again, I attempted to collect possible biological material from the outside of the syringe.
And how did you go about doing that?
Using a cotton
Thanks
swab
for your
and
help,
water,
Eris.
applying that to the syringe.
Yes.
And
swabbing
have a
the
good
syringe,
run.
trying to collect what might be there. That's the way that was done.
And how is this particular item packaged in comparison to the swabs that we've been talking about?
Okay, you got to stick around now, are you, Eris?
I don't even know what they're called. They're plastic tubes.
He has a special relationship with his mother.
And they're thick and strong, so the needle won't penetrate, which makes it safer for us to handle and carry.
Can you turn the volume up a tad?
Of the items that we discussed, evidence that was marked 1 through 19, were these all
I think they said
booked
that.
into evidence by you?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they said that.
No.
What items were booked into? Well, let me ask you this. What about evidence items 6 to 19? Was that booked by you?
For the record,
Yes.
this is refreshing his recollection.
All right, again, if you need to look at your report, just advise the court of that.
Okay, I'm going to refer to my notes.
All right.
Starting with number 6. That
Dude
was,
can't remember anything.
booked in the property by me. 7 was booked by me. 8 was booked by me. 9 and 10 were booked by me. 11 were booked by me. 12 was not booked. It was not booked. 13 was not booked. 14 was not booked. 15 was booked by me. 16 and 17 was booked by me. 18 was booked by me. 19 was not booked.
And the ones where you say that you were not booked, were those the specific swabs that were taken by you that were not booked by you?
Those were the red stains that I collected.
That was booked by a law enforcement officer?
Yes,
But the remaining items were in fact booked by you?
they were.
And that was under a particular DR number, is that correct?
Yes.
And that DR number that it was booked under was specifically DR number 2006.
Not yet. We're still on the state's case,
That's
and
correct.
we don't know for sure he
Items given
will,
to law
but
enforcement
we are
every day.
hoping so.
Yeah, look, we're all
The
prepared.
bloodstains were transferred.
Yeah, we
to
got all
the
kinds of sound
the next day,
effects and
I believe it
everything.
And was
Yeah,
that detectable?
thing.
was. Yes.
Thank
Good afternoon, Mr. Sanchez.
Good afternoon.
While you were working as a journalist, you had additional duties other than
Get another one going,
Sal.
Sal.
What?
Yeah, at that particular time.
Do another one.
Just while during your career there.
Yes.
And part of that was also DNA analysis.
Some of it was, yes.
And so you're more familiar with what potential evidence is.
Yes.
Okay, and when we're talking about possible biological material, is that and in this case, you stated that you and Ms. Francis
We got
were
those ready
wearing
if
gloves
he
the entire time?
testifies.
Yes.
And why is it that you wear gloves?
Well, there's 2 reasons. Number 1, I want to protect the DNA. I don't want to contaminate the DNA. Or let me back up. I don't want to contaminate the evidence with my DNA. That's
See,
one
this,
reason. Number 2,
that's enough.
the biological
See,
fluid.
this,
I want to protect
this is how
myself
excited we
from
are.
the evidence.
And as you were walking through with detectives, did you notice if any of the detectives were wearing gloves at the time?
I didn't notice.
Did you notice if anyone at the crime scene other than you and Miss Francis were wearing gloves?
Francis and I were wearing gloves, and the photographers were wearing gloves.
Okay, so
I just
anyone
found a
outside of
clip
the criminals
website
who were there,
or
you
a
didn't notice
soundboard
whether or
for
not they were
Price is
wearing
Right.
gloves?
And
No.
was able to
Not
download
hard to
them
come
without
by.
Do
ads.
you recall
No.
how many people were in the house when you arrived?
Well, when I arrived,
Oh, I need to clip the dumpster bros.
No, I
like,
don't.
I doubt it. Take your swing.
So you said that the swabs that you took looking for potential touch DNA, you and Ms. Francis felt
I
that those
doubt
were
it.
important samples to take.
yes,
And
God,
that
that
was
guy
in
is
part
such-
based on the location
that
they
guy
were,
is so
that you
awesome.
thought someone may have touched those areas.
yes.
Did you notice any stains
Sorry,
or
Iris.
anything else that looked like it could be biological material on the stairs leading up to the upper level?
What, did he nut on
I
the
did
stairs
not see any
too?
blood leading up the stairs. No.
And you noted that in the hallway there were beads, is that correct?
Yes.
Beads. What
Did
kind
you
of
see
beads?
those beads in any other area of the house?
Well, they were
Yeah, I mean,
kind of scattered
sir,
out in the hallway upstairs.
with these people,
So
you need
they
to
went in- they were in
specify
more
what
than
kind
just
of
one
beads.
location. They were
Yeah,
kind
you're
of
really
Rosary,
Okay, and that included
Anal-
into the bedroom, correct?
I believe
etc.
some of them were in
Mardi
the
Gras.
bedrooms.
Now, you went on the balcony, and that was where the syringe was collected?
Okay.
Yes,
And
Lawnmower beads.
you said you spoke with law enforcement officers, so you were aware of where Ms. Harwick had been found.
yes,
Okay, so is it safe to say that the balcony was a pretty important area during your search for evidence?
You don't know what
Yes.
those are, C-Swept?
But there were no swabs taken
Oh,
for
you
potential
poor,
touch DNA
sheltered,
on any of
naive
the
little
railings,
girl.
correct?
correct.
You were so innocent.
Referring back.
Technically was, just saying.
Yeah, it was.
What was previously marked as equals 90.
Of course Shelley knows.
This is the doorknob in Ms. Hart's bedroom, correct?
No, I know
Yes.
what they were. I'm saying C-Swept doesn't appear to know what they are.
Oh, please. C knows
I tried-
way more than any of us.
Oh. I tried to sell a gently used strand of them on Craigslist when I was 17. Some jerk kept trying to report my ad and got taken down.
Gently used.
So then I decided to change the subject line to slightly used. And
Can't see it on the
still,
photo,
and I was like a really
but
professional
it's right here.
description, like
Bet.
describing the
anything-
width of each bead.
Point it above the doorknob on
The
the side
width.
portion
Yeah.
of, the frame.
The circumference?
Yes.
The texture?
To the right of the stairs.
Yes.
Was there anything collected?
And
from-
still it didn't sell.
Yes.
So
No, it kept getting reported
you
and taken
collected
down.
for potential touch DNA.
Yeah. Wow,
with the
that's
particular
just
doorknob
not
And then
on
fair.
the balcony.
And then
there was
finally, after
no
like the fifth
swabbing
time I
potential
posted
touch
it,
DNA.
somebody emails me angrily, calling me a jerk and
Calling you a
pervert.
jerk. Yeah.
No, just a moment.
Look,
Getting all
people are
pissed
just
at
way too sensitive.
me. I know.
Yeah.
I'm a capitalist.
You
You
are.
went through the entirety of the house, correct?
Also,
And you
like,
recall
you're into
going to the kitchen?
recycling.
I know.
I do, yes.
They have a market for
On the
Used
cabinets
love
in the
dolls.
kitchen are
Upcycling.
white, correct?
yeah.
Hmm.
I don't remember.
They do have a market for used love dolls, by the way.
I bet they do. Again, upcycling.
Yeah.
You don't want to create waste
Yeah. Exactly.
unnecessarily.
I mean, you'd save like like half off the normal price.
There's that, and like you don't want to increase your carbon footprint.
Yeah. Oh.
Hey, Fed, how are you?
As you were going through the kitchen, did you note any staining or anything else that seemed like it might be biological material?
No.
And when you were briefed by law enforcement, were you...
Hasn't
told
he already been
to
asked that?
leave the person who had been in the residence left through the kitchen door?
Did you find any more biological material? Is there any more biological material?
Do you recall
You sure?
any swabs for potential touch DNA?
No
anywhere in the
pee?
kitchen?
No
Not
Did he
spew?
rub his pee on her pillow?
And this has previously been marked as defense view.
Good, Fed. Good to hear it.
Is this a kitchen you recall walking through?
Yes.
Nice
And
kitchen.
the cabinets in there, both above and below the sink, are
Ken
white?
Paxton's
Yes.
wife would love
Okay, and as
those
you walked through, there was
countertops.
nothing that drew your attention to any type of
Who?
possible biologic material.
Correct.
He was the attorney general of Texas. and he got impeached,
And
or
everything
there was an
the
impeach hearing
prosecutor went over
because
as
he was
far as
using his
samples that were
office to
taken
like
and potential
get
blood
personal
stains, that
stuff
was everything that you
Ah.
noted
and
while
for
you
his
were in the
wife,
house?
Yes.
and
I
it
see.
turned out that she never got the countertops.
You were asked about whether you collected any sort of swabbing from the railing.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Did you look on the railing to see if there was anything that necessitated your collection?
I did.
Did you see anything that may have appeared to be blood?
No.
Did you see anything that may have appeared to be biological material that needed collection on that railing?
No.
I believe
Did
so,
you
Shelley.
also take a look at the kitchen
Yeah, they
wall?
have, because they had the weird
Take a look at the
elk
kitchen door.
or
Well,
deer head.
we entered and went through.
Oh
the kitchen
yeah,
door,
the
but,
deer head. That thing
I don't
freaked
recall
me
seeing
out.
anything specific there.
Now I want to turn your attention to the specific French doors, which included the evidence marker of 19. And you were asked about the doorknob and whether you did any swabbing of the doorknob depicted there.
Yes.
Now, did you see any sort of indication of blood on
Necessitate's a good word,
Not on
Shelley.
the
Yeah.
doorknob, no.
I like facilitate
also.
also.
That may have necessitated your collection on that doorknob?
No.
But you did see something above the doorknob that you collected and swabbed, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Shelley, there is.
Now, you were asked briefly
Deer or
about
some kind of
touch
animal
DNA.
head
Are you
in the
less
bathroom.
likely
Deer or elk
to
or something.
collect biological material from a swab
It had
like touch
antlers
DNA if a person was
and it had
Yeah.
eyes.
That
I
followed
And-
you
know,
around the
but,
room.
like,
We talked
be
about
the
it for a
same.
good
Never
10
say never,
minutes.
but
I know
if it
that.
happened, it'd be very.
And then we
no.
got onto the subject of
Pretty unlikely
fish
to get
Pretty
touch
unlikely,
DNA
on the
yeah.
wall.
Yeah.
touch DNA from someone wearing gloves.
Yeah.
So if someone
And
were to
I
touch
was
the
just,
doorknob
ugh.
that is depicted in the people's exhibit on the screen right now wearing gloves,
Like people
you wouldn't
have dead
expect to see
animals on
touch
their
DNA, is that correct?
wall.
I would not.
Same thing with the railing.
Yes.
Thank you, nothing further.
Anything based on those questions?
Briefly, is there any specific research or any studies that you're basing your opinion you wouldn't see as much touch DNA when someone's wearing gloves?
There is research. I can't name it off the top of my
The
head.
LAPD learned
but
all about
my
that with
answer also
OJ.
comes from 20 years in DNA.
And are you familiar with any of the recent publications in the Journal of Forensics regarding touch DNA being transferred by gloves?
Objection outside the scope.
Transferred by gloves.
Well, then we'll find out.
What if
Familiar
you
with that?
purchase your house and ask
I'm not
for a
familiar with
javelina
any
head in the
specific articles.
contract?
No.
And when you were swabbing
dad
the
did.
vanity, was there anything that you were able to see?
Yes.
What was it you were able to see?
I was able to see the drawers pull open, which led me to swab those areas.
Okay, with specifically regard to the areas that you swabbed, were you able to see anything that you thought was biological material?
No.
And that's because touch DNA is not visible to the eye generally.
Correct.
So if someone
Guy in the back
touched
has a
anything on the
mosquito
balcony
net on his
and
head.
said never say never, DNA was transferred, you would not have been
Does
able to
he?
see it, correct?
You would not be able to see touch DNA on the balcony, no.
And the same with the doorknob.
Same with the doorknob.
Rebecca,
Were you told
come
at any
on,
point
girl.
while you were on
Get back
scene
to me.
that officers believed whoever had broken in was wearing gloves?
Objection hearsay.
Yeah, okay, I'm looking though, Fed.
I don't recall any detective saying he may have been wearing gloves, no.
And that was, I apologize, you said that they did not say that.
I don't recall anybody saying that to me, no.
No further questions.
Any?
No, no.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Lisa, let's go ahead and take 15-minute break, please.
Have you been out picking mushrooms again? We had some people here die from eating a mushroom pie recently.
Really?
Like 3 people died, and 1 person ended up in a 3-week coma.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And a lady,
We are
well,
back on the record.
she was going to get charged. I don't know if she's still going to get charged, but it was a big drama. Death cat mushrooms.
All right.
Now, that's
Death
got to
cat
tip
for
you
cutie?
off.
Yes,
They're
we
called
can
death
put that
cat
on the-
mushrooms.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a giveaway.
You raise your right hand.
You solemnly state that the testimony
Yeah,
you're about to
see?
give in the cause now-
You-
Oh,
Dr.
now
G
this guy is
covered it.
finally being sworn in.
I do.
Thank you, please have a seat.
Ah, finally. Finally. I'm being sworn in. I've only testified for half an hour.
Last name?
Scott, S-C-O-T-T, Luzzi.
Yes, he's what Dr. G had to go to.
All right, go.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a contract
Give her a
pathologist
Rogering?
with Los Angeles County
Yeah.
Medical Examiner's Office.
And what is your background training experience that qualifies you to be a forensic pathologist?
I went
After
to
medical
DeVry.
school, I did a year's internship in general medicine, and then I did a
Hey,
4-year residency in
got
anatomic
my
and clinical
diploma
pathology,
off the
and then I
back
did a
of
year's
a milk
fellowship in
bottle.
forensic pathology. I'm board certified in anatomic and clinical
Went to
clinical
online
pathology
college.
and in forensic pathology.
Now, when conducting an autopsy, can you explain, just generally, the process in which
Yeah.
You want to skip the CV,
So the way
Shelley?
it works at Los Angeles
Or
County is the case
you?
gets assigned in the morning, and I'll review the case notes. from
Yeah,
the
let's.
investigator.
Yeah, sure. Let's
After
go.
that, I'll review,
Yeah, mushrooms were
usually
cheap
there's
for a bit.
X-rays and photographs that have been taken, so I review those before I even see the body up
No
close.
one particularly wanted to
The
eat
first step-
mushrooms in Australia for a week or two. But yeah, really, I think there was something a little bit more sus about it than just your regular mushrooms you get down at the shops.
Yeah, I think just don't eat mushrooms, especially if they're wild.
If you go picking mushrooms out of the field,
Yeah.
or if you go and get them from, some sus little, okay, I don't mean to sound, what's the word, racist, because I'm not
Because
in this
clearly.
regard anyway.
Well, you are, but
Well, whatever, but I don't have a problem with like Asian stores, but
yeah.
this apparently was, some of the mushrooms anyway, were like dried mushrooms that had come from like a specialty Asian grocer. And yeah, I mean, I don't know whether those particular mushrooms were the ones that were the death cap mushrooms. Oh, did she make that all up? You don't think she bought them at all? Why
Yeah.
can't you get monetized, you racist? You know what the problem is, Brandon? It's because YouTube is racist against me because I'm in Australia and I need 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours. That's why. They are the racists. That's what it's about. Yeah, and we need to protest it, Brandon. That's what it's about. You help me. All of you need to help me because it's not fair. It's not fair.
I know. And I need,
I need
200,
subs.
6 more subs.
We're talking about me.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
it's all
he
about
does too. He does too. But you need less.
I know.
I need like 850.
You'll
Yeah.
get there.
Anyway, hang on. Let's just see. I know I'll get there. I'll get there eventually. Working hard. What's this? An opportunity to.
Into the hospital would have prevented her death.
Well, it's possible.
Okay, hang on. He didn't really talk for very long about that.
Based on your review of the decedent's medical records from Cedars-Sinai, do you believe that appropriate life-saving measures were taken?
You guys happy with that?
Yes, and based on what I documented at autopsy, yes.
Thank you.
Now, she arrived at Cedars-Sinai at around 2:13 a.m. and was pronounced dead at 3:26 a.m.
Only makes them bigots.
An hour and 15 minutes after her
Racist
arrival
bigots.
into the hospital. Now, do you believe, based on your review
Extremists.
of medical records and in your experience, that earlier admission
Whatever.
into the hospital would
Same
have
diff.
prevented her death?
Ooh. There you go, Brandon.
Well, it's possible. I don't think it's probable.
And why don't you think it's probable?
I'm always nice to you, Brandon. When am I not nice to you?
Were very severe.
I always say hello and ask you how you're going.
This person was
Well, what do you
injured right
want?
outside an OR. Could we have gotten them?
Jeez.
Could we got them saved them in
People
time?
are so
And
sensitive.
this is one of those questions where if she was right outside the OR, I don't know. I have my doubts that she would have been able to resuscitate.
Is this due to the severity of the injuries that you observed post-mortem?
That would be fun.
Now, I want to talk to you about, again, the
Baker and
post-mortem
Mo,
We should
too.
do that, Shelley.
itself. What was her height and weight that you observed upon receipt?
So she's 67 inches. That's 5 foot 7 inches, and 130 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Was there medical intervention
Yeah, would like to do that, Brandon.
that was
Actually,
apparent on her body?
Yes.
just recently I went
Your Honor, at
and
this
jumped
time,
onto
we're holding a diagram
AZ's stream.
as people
We had a little bit of a chitty chat because she had my
Did
full
you
stream.
document the evidence
It
of
was
medical
fun.
intervention that you
And that's
saw on
thanks
the
to you.
decedent's
Thank
body?
you,
Yes.
Brandon.
I'm showing you what's been marked as People's 113. Do you recognize what's depicted here?
Yes. This is the external examination diagram that I did.
In this external examination diagram, and you're the author of this document?
Yes, I am.
In this external examination diagram, do you document all of the injuries that you observed externally on the decedent's body?
That's a second page that looks exactly like this. It's the same diagram, but to keep things clean so people can follow along, I do the injuries on a separate form.
See,
and this
you're
is
a
the
legend,
general
dude.
characteristics and the medical therapy that she had.
Here in Oz, we call people like you a bloody legend. That's what we
the
call
general
you.
observations as well as the medical intervention that you
You
saw.
are a
Yes.
good dude.
Now, you referred in your testimony that there is a separate
You're my new
diagram
mate.
that you use to keep things cleaner.
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I think we're holding a
Brandon's
similar
my new
diagram
mate.
with the title wounds at the top. May that be marked as
Love to
people's
have a
114?
beer with Brandon.
I'm showing you what's been marked
Love
as
to have a
people's
beer with Nate.
114. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
Again, are you the author of this document?
Yes, I am.
And explain the difference between People's 113 and People's 114, which I just displayed for you on the screen.
So this one, as it says at the top of the diagram,
Steve,
it says
I have
wounds.
never,
so these are
ever
the, wounds
been into
that I saw on the
braces.
external examination. And they're specifically for the
hell?
torso and the
And how are
extremities.
you,
You can
Lefty?
see I have squares drawn around the head and both hands because I have different diagrams for those areas.
Now, I want to talk to you about any observations that you had made to the face area. Did you make any sort of observations regarding injuries to her face?
Hey, Jonathan.
Yes, she had injuries of her face.
Could you please describe the injuries that you saw on her face?
Before I do, Your Honor, is it okay if I refer to my
Okay.
Certainly. Just let us know when you need to.
So she had a cluster of abrasions over her left forehead, abrasion, and a cluster of abrasions in front of her
Oh
right ear,
dear.
an abrasion on her right
Original
cheek,
streaming would have a few more than that,
contusion on her
Brandon,
right
but
cheek,
really,
an abrasion along the lower
dear
right
me,
jaw,
you have to start somewhere,
an
don't
abrasion of her
you?
nose, 2 linear abrasions, so just they're like lines, scrapes of lines, on her left cheek, as well as an irregular abrasion. Behind her left ear, she had a cluster of abrasions and contusions. And do you want to talk about her neck, or
Lefty,
are we just going to talk about
I am
her?
always
face.
nice.
So
You
those are
don't
the
understand
injuries that I
Australian
saw on her
Did
humour,
face.
you
right?
observe any injuries around her eye
We
area?
make fun of ourselves. We make fun of other people. That's
Well,
just what we do.
Injury, no. But
We
what you
don't
do
mean
have
any
is what we
harm.
call petechiae. So these
It means
are
we like you,
small,
actually.
broken blood vessels
That's what that
in the
means.
skin that we can see. And when we see that,
If we don't make fun,
it's a
it
clue
means that
there
we
may
couldn't
have been
care
some
less.
form of asphyxiation, some form of strangulation going on. And so when we do that, that directs me that I'm going to do a specific examination on her neck when we do the internal examination.
So your external examination
See?
revealed these petechial hemorrhages
I can get you
in the victim's
all
eyes.
the
Yes,
documents.
and just to clarify why these are associated with
All
strangulation
the
is because
documents.
pressure is applied usually to the neck in an area that collapses the jugular veins, but blood still goes into the head through
Just
the carotid
me.
arteries. And so, but it doesn't go through the jugular veins to return to the heart. So blood just builds up in those blood vessels, and those blood vessels will break, and we see them as these small little petechiae, little pinpoint
See?
hemorrhages in the skin.
Pixie's back
So
on
just
the
to be clear, petechial hemorrhaging is consistent with strangulation.
It's a clue to strangulation. There are other things that can cause it, but it's a clue, and that means, again, we needed to take a closer look in the internal examination on her, particularly her neck.
Now, I want to talk to you about the internal injuries that you observed to the face area of the decedent. What sort of injuries did you notice in the internal examination of the decedent's face?
So let's just to be clear, when I say face, I'm basically talking between the eyes and the chin. So I did not see facial injuries because we don't remove the skin of the face when we do the autopsy. We do look at the skin. We do reflect the skin of the
You're
scalp,
cute.
and I did see some hemorrhage, what we call subgaleal hemorrhage, on the right parietal scalp. So if you take your hand and if you put your hand on the side of your head, that's your parietal scalp, and there was a large hemorrhage, about 15 by 15 centimeters, on that side of the head.
Now, before we get specifically more into the head injury that you just described, I know earlier that you talked about there being x-rays that were taken of the decedent.
Yes.
Based on your examination of the x-rays, were there any sort of fractures or anything like that to the face area of the decedent?
In our x-rays at the coroner's office, I did not see facial fractures. However, x-rays that were obtained prior, I think in the hospital, demonstrate facial fractures.
And what kind of fractures did you notice?
So I said facial fractures. So basically the maxilla, the sinuses, if you take your fingers and you put underneath your eyes, your cheekbones, there are fractures there.
Was there a nasal fracture?
I don't remember.
With looking at those
Yes,
x-rays, refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Your Honor, with the court's permission?
Yes.
So yes, there were.
Now, taking into account these nasal injuries, the nasal fracture in particular, would you say that those injuries are consistent with being punched in the face?
I would object to that, it's calling for speculation.
That's the thing. I mean, you could, one question is what may have caused it, what things could cause it, force trauma. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to be able to answer. Please, the question.
Hence the question, is it consistent with that type of,
I don't know about punch, but what could cause those type of injuries to the face?
Who's a
A
game mod
punch is
now?
among the things that could cause those injuries.
Among the things.
Among
Right.
other things, falling
What
on
you
the
talking
falling on
about,
your face
Exec?
could potentially cause those.
Thank you. Sure.
Would you expect to see a nasal fracture after being struck in the face?
I would not be surprised. You don't necessarily have to have a nasal fracture, but if you have one after I was told the person was struck in the face, I would not be surprised.
Would bleeding from the nose be consistent with being struck in the face?
Yes.
If the decedent were to fall face first onto the pavement from 21 feet, would you expect to see a different pattern of injuries to the face?
Well, I would expect to see a wider pattern of injuries. So these injuries to her face are rather focal. So they cover small areas of her head, her cheeks, her jawline. They're very focal. But if she were to fall and smack her face on the pavement, I would expect some wider injuries covering wider areas over her face. And that's why I talked about that subgaleal hemorrhage over the parietal scalp, because that was so large. That's consistent. That covers a large area of her scalp. And so that's consistent with her head striking the pavement.
Now we've talked about an injury to her head, so let's segue to the observations you made of the decedent's head. Let's talk about the external injuries that you observed to the head first. What external injuries did you observe?
So again,
right,
cluster of
MZ,
abrasions
sorry.
to the forehead.
MZ, MZ, I don't
Those
know.
facial injuries that we discussed already.
Now,
I always
we're-
get
you
tongue-tied when I
referenced,
say your
one of the
name.
internal injuries, and that is
I didn't know
the
who you were talking
kind of
about.
wide,
Let's go.
Subgaleal hemorrhage?
Yes.
I got it. So the subgaleal hemorrhage to the scalp. And you were using your right hand to point to the right sort of rear portion of your head. Is that the correct area?
I'd say the right middle portion of your head would be correct with the parietal scalp.
And let the record reflect that the witness has touched the right middle side of his, the top of his right portion of his head. Were there other types of injuries that you saw internally in regards to the decedent's head?
So she actually did not have, that I saw, skull fractures of the calvarium or the bowl of the skull or the base of the skull. She did have subdural hemorrhage. So that's hemorrhage over the brain and the dura membrane. And that's a membrane that covers the brain, kind of protecting it from in its cavity. And there was hemorrhage there, and there was subarachnoid hemorrhage. That's another membrane that covers the brain. And so there was hemorrhage in that as well.
Now, are the injuries you observed to the head what you would describe as injuries, blunt force injuries?
Yes.
Would you say that those injuries observed to the head, internal injuries, are consistent with a fall?
They can be, yes.
Do you believe that those injuries are consistent with being struck in the head?
They could be
Jeez,
as well.
do you think she might have fallen?
Now, based on the totality of the victim's injuries that you observed throughout your entire postmortem examination, does it appear more likely that those head injuries are consistent with a fall rather than that of being struck?
The ones to her face, I think, are more consistent with her.
That's the defense's theory.
That injury to the side of her scalp.
So this witness is pretty important.
And is that because of the wide pattern of injuries that you described?
Yes.
Could the injuries to her head have caused the decedent to seize immediately after falling?
Yes.
Now, you had already stated you did not observe any skull fractures to the decedent's head. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, if the decedent were to fall from 21 feet head first, would you expect her head to absorb most of the impact?
Head first, yes.
Splat.
Now, I understand. Well, let me ask you this. Are the head injuries that you observed internally lethal?
Lethal? They
Yes.
can be, yes.
Now, if the decedent were to fall from 21 feet head first onto the pavement, would you expect to see skull fractures?
I would, yes, I would expect to see skull fractures. I would be surprised if there weren't.
Now, I want to turn your attention to the torso area of the victim. Did you observe external injuries to the torso area of the decedent?
Yes.
And what were those injuries that you observed externally?
So she has a cluster of, so we're going to talk about the torso specifically. Right?
Correct.
A cluster of abrasions and contusions on her right chest, a smaller abrasion on the mid-right chest, a large contusion, well, a 4 by 2 centimeter contusion on the lower right chest, an abrasion on the proximal right thigh, so the closer right thigh hip area, where you bend your thigh, that's about the area she had an abrasion at. She had some abrasions on her left chest and a circular pattern abrasion. Yes, you're right.
All right, okay, just advise the court you need to refer to your report, all right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And a circular pattern abrasion on her abdomen, left side of her abdomen.
Now, are those injuries that you noticed externally documented in People's 114 on the street?
Yes.
Now, I want to turn your attention to the internal injuries of the torso. What were those injuries?
So she had blood in her abdomen.
Oh, he doesn't look happy.
I want to point out she also had blood in her chest, but there were no injuries in her chest. I think that blood that I saw in her chest was therapy related. She had what they call a chest tube inserted on the right side of her chest. Because they didn't know what was going on, so they tried to relieve any kind of.
To object to this last part is not possible.
Okay, the last part will be stricken. But you think that they are related to medical treatment?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay.
And then she had pelvic fractures as well, and multiple lacerations of her liver, lacerations of the mesentery. So those are the blood vessels that feed your intestines, and a laceration of her right kidney as well.
Now,
Jeez.
would you call those injuries that you just talked about in regards to the internal injuries of the decedent's torso to be lethal?
Yes.
Referring you specifically to the lacerations of the liver, was that caused by the extent of the impact to the decedent's body?
From the fall?
From a fall?
From a fall. Yes, most likely.
Okay.
And in order for that type of injury to occur, would there have to be an immense amount of impact?
Yes, a large amount of energy.
Are the injuries that you observe to the torso consistent with that from a fall?
Yes.
Are the injuries to the torso consistent with that of being struck?
Not particularly the liver and the pelvic injuries are not, and the laceration of the kidney are not consistent with being struck.
Why is that?
First off, the liver would take to have that kind of injury, so multiple lacerations, breaking was a capsule around the liver, and to shatter that would take an immense amount of force. I would only expect to see something like that in a motor vehicle accident.
Okay.
The pelvic injury she had, again, would take a lot of force as well. And again, I would only expect to see that other than a fall in a motor vehicle collision. And again, the mesentery, the laceration of the right kidney is similarly, it's kind of protected. The kidney is kind of protected behind your back and away from your intestines. So again, a lot of energy would have to have been applied to that. You can see most of the injuries, there's no injuries on her back, but like I said, the kidney is near the back.
No.
And so
Junior.
for a blow to the from a fist, an object to her abdomen, would not cause injury to, I would not expect that to cause injury to her kidney.
So in your opinion, the severity of injuries to the torso are more consistent with that of a fall than that of being struck?
Yes.
Now I want to talk to you about the pelvis in particular. You were
It
able to
appears so,
examine some
Matt.
X-rays, is that correct?
Yes.
I think they want
Now the extent of
manslaughter,
the injury to her pelvis, both on the
or
right
whatever
and
the
left of her
equivalent
pelvis,
is in
consistent
California.
with the decedent falling onto her pelvis, is that correct?
Yes.
Now I want to talk to you about the injuries the
I opened
decedent
up my
suffered
blinds.
to her scapula.
Try to get some light in,
Yes, you did.
What is that?
and
So,
the cats are like trying to
the
stand
scapula
on my
is the shoulder
blinds.
blade. And so I did not see it on the x-rays we have. It's, for me, I'm not a radiologist. Seeing scapular fractures are not easy to
Scapular?
find. However, the prior x-rays did see,
Scapula.
imaging studies did see the fracture of the spine.
Stabulate?
Stabular is like stabula satis.
You said to the spine?
Stabula.
Spine of her
Stabudae.
scapula. So there's a ridge on that bone, and that was fractured.
Now in order for that injury to occur, does there need to be, again, an immense amount of force applied?
Yes.
Is that type of injury that you observed to the scapula consistent with that of being struck?
I would be hard to imagine being struck with fists, maybe with a baseball bat or a pipe, but I would have a hard time seeing that happen with fists.
So is that injury that you observed to the scapula, that fracture, consistent with a fall?
Yes.
Is that injury that you observed to the decedent's scapula more consistent with the decedent falling on the right side of her body onto the pavement?
I don't think we said what side it was. It was her right scapula, so yes, that is the side.
Now I want to talk to you about her neck area. Were there external injuries you observed on her neck area?
Yes, there were.
And what were those injuries?
So she had, sir, I'm going to refer to my notes before I answer.
Your Honor, is that okay?
Yes.
So, cluster of abrasions on the right side of her neck. She had some abrasions on the left side of her neck. So if you were to follow that sternocleidomastoid muscle, she had a cluster of abrasions above that muscle, and then below that muscle was a cluster of contusions.
At this time, Your Honor, the people are holding a diagram. May that be marked as people's next in order of the head.
I think you're at 115.
I'm showing you what's been marked as people's 115. Does this diagram, a diagram that was authored by you?
Yes.
And does this document the external head and neck injuries that you've been referring to?
Yes.
Now you talk about some external injuries to the neck. I'm showing you what's been previously marked as people's 31, 32, 44, and 45. I'll do it a little quickly here. I'm showing you people's 31.
Okay, so if they managed to show anything here that wasn't caused by the fall and
Yeah.
was potentially fatal, then
Do those
he's in
actually
big
document the
trouble.
external injuries you observed to the victim's
Because
neck?
there's been
Yes.
nothing else.
Now, did you also conduct an internal examination of the decedent's neck?
Yes.
Did you observe any internal injuries to her neck?
Yes. So, as I was saying, because of petechiae, we did what we call anterior neck dissection. And we take all the muscles, we have about 6 muscles, on each, 4 muscles on each side of the neck. And we reflect all those muscles and look for injury. So I found a hemorrhage in the right sternocleidomastoid muscle and hemorrhage in her left sternocleidomastoid muscle.
Your Honor, at this time I'm holding 2 photos, post-mortem examination photos of the decedent's neck area. May that be marked as Peoples 116A and B?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been marked as Peoples 116A. Do you recognize what's depicted here?
So this is a picture of her neck from the taken from the left side after we've done that muscle reflection.
And is the only way to observe the injuries that you just described to the jury by conducting an actual post-mortem examination looking inside the neck area of the decedent?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
You described the internal injuries that you observed in the decedent.
Yes.
Are you only able to see those injuries if you cut open the body and see it?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been marked as Peoples 116, and you could use, there's a wooden pointer behind you. The internal injuries, could you point out the internal injuries you observed in the decedent?
So you can, that's not, there is hemorrhage here and there is hemorrhage here. However, that hemorrhage is what we call fascial hemorrhage. It's not in the muscle itself. So I had to disregard that because that can just be artifact of medical intervention. Perhaps they put a needle or try to put an IV in that area. But there's hemorrhage right here in her sternocleidomastoid muscle. This muscle right here.
Nice big
and there's hemorrhage right here. And that's the injury that I saw on the left side of her neck.
That's close to the jaw area, is it not?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm showing you what's been marked as Peoples 116B. Is this the right side neck area of the decedent?
Yes, it is.
Can you describe the internal injuries you observed here?
Again, this hemorrhage is a fascial hemorrhage. It's not within any muscle. It could be artifact. But here's her sternocleidomastoid muscle. Again, it's a big flap of a muscle. And you can see the hemorrhage, a lot of hemorrhage within that muscle.
Now, based on your observation of these internal injuries and the external injuries to the neck area of the decedent, would you say that these injuries are consistent with manual strangulation?
Yes.
Now, are these injuries consistent with strangulation by one or both hands?
I can't tell you. There's no pattern for me to determine which hand was grabbing there. Sometimes the fingernails may grip into the skin and leave a pattern, but I didn't see anything with these neck injuries.
Now, earlier you talked about how petechial hemorrhages are a clue to strangulation.
Yes.
Now, taking into account that you observed petechial hemorrhages on the decedent and observed these external and internal injuries, which we testified about, are you able to come to the opinion that the decedent was strangled?
Yes, I believe so.
Oh.
Now, I want to ask you some general questions about strangulation. Could strangulation cause the decedent to lose control of her bowel movements?
Oh,
If she lost consciousness,
no.
I would suspect that she could lose control of her bowel and bladder.
Bladder.
So could strangulation of the decedent, if she lost consciousness, cause her to also urinate?
Yes.
Now, given enough pressure to the trachea, would strangulation
Are you trying to, like,
prevent a victim from yelling?
degrade her
or
as much as
screaming?
possible,
It would
Steve?
take a lot of pressure to prevent on the trachea. So that's your windpipe.
Well,
It takes a lot of
no.
about 33 pounds of pressure. I realize that's technical
This is
stuff, and it's a lot. It's a lot
really
of pressure.
relevant,
I
though,
could close
Sal.
off the trachea entirely.
I guess.
But it would compromise it in a way that would make it difficult to yell.
So it would make it difficult to yell or scream.
Right, but not impossible.
How long would it take someone to lose consciousness as a result of being strangled?
So it's about 15 to 20 seconds.
Now, if the decedent was physically assaulted,
Yeah, look worried, dude.
struck
This
in
is
the head repeatedly,
very worrying
strangled for up to
testimony.
15 to 20 seconds, is it likely that the decedent was unconscious after being strangled?
I think it's very possible.
Even if the
Don't
decedent
smile.
was not strangled to the point of unconsciousness, would you anticipate her physical condition to be in such a weakened state if she were first physically assaulted and then strangled?
Well, she's in a...
Would you be speculating in your answers?
Yes, sir, I would.
Okay, it's the same.
Would you expect the decedent to expend a lot of energy if she had been strangled?
Yes.
What do you understand that question to be posing, sir? Exert a lot of energy.
What's happened? What happened? Hey.
Right, but not impossible.
How long would it take someone to lose?
Hang on, wait.
We talked about how petechial hemorrhages are equivalent.
Hang on, that's a long way back.
Even if the decedent was not strangled to the point of unconsciousness, would you anticipate her physical condition to be in such a weakened state if she were first physically assaulted?
Sorry, guys,
and then
I
strangled?
don't know why it paused.
Would you be speculating in your answers?
Yes, sir, I would.
Okay, it's the same.
Would you expect the decedent to expend a lot of energy
Yeah,
if she had been
I'd
strangled?
rather not miss any of this testimony, so I'd rather just go back over it
Would
and
you
have it
understand that question to be posing, sir? Exert a lot of
jump forward. Look, it did it again.
Just give it a sec.
Okay. Right, the audio just cut out. Okay, it's their problem. Thank you, Lawn Bad Cream.
Would you be fatigued, is how I'm interpreting it.
Yes,
Okay.
I can ask that question as well. Do you want me to clear to make it clear?
Are you saying, what did you ask the question again?
Sure. Would you expect the decedent to be fatigued after being strangled?
Yes.
Now, I want to talk about the shoulders. Are there injuries that you observed?
It's pretty
to
tiring
the
being
shoulders?
strangled, I would think.
Yes.
And what were those injuries that you observed to the shoulders?
So I'm going to look at my notes before I... So
Why
she
do we
had
look like
an abrasion
day?
on her anterior right shoulder, but more interestingly to me, it was a patterned contusion on the front of her right shoulder, and then she had a patterned contusion on the back of her right shoulder. So the one on the front shoulder was oval shaped, but had clearing in the center of that oval. The one on the back of the shoulder was circular shaped, but had clearing again in the back of the shoulder. So this is on the right shoulder again. So my thought is that this is some kind of grasping motion where finger and thumb are pressing on the shoulders. What that does is cause the blood right under the skin where the thumb and finger are being applied rushes out, and it breaks the blood vessels surrounding where that impression is. So that's why you have that clearing in the center, but blood around it.
Now, I want to talk to you about her hands. Did you observe any injuries to the decedent's hands?
Yes.
And what were those injuries that you observed?
Again, sir, I need to review a lot of it. There were a lot of injuries to her hands. So she had a lot of contusions on her fingers, on her knuckles. So they're all contusions. Well, there is some abrasions on her knuckles, but she also had abrasions on the back and the sides of her hands, both hands.
Now, I want to show you some photos. What's been previously marked as people's 47, 48, 49, 50, and 51, and I'll go through them quickly. 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, and I'd like to mark another photo, Your Honor, as people's next in order,
17.
Showing you what's been marked as people's 117. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes, this is taken by the autopsy tech prior to the autopsy.
And does this also document the injury that you observed to the decedent's hand?
Yes, and just to point out, if you look at all the knuckles, her middle finger, ring finger, and little finger all have bruises on the knuckles, what we call the proximal interphalangeal joint, but the closer knuckle.
Showing you the the 6 photos of the hands that I just showed you, does that accurately document the injuries that you observed to the decedent's hands?
Yes.
Are those injuries that you observed consistent with assaultive?
I really doubt it,
They can be.
Maz.
Those that are on the knuckles, if you imagine throwing a punch,
I can't imagine what he could say that could make things better.
Are your knuckles. So those contusions on the knuckles would be an assaultive type of injury.
Are those injuries you observed to the decedent's hands consistent with defensive types of injuries?
So the ones on the backs of her hands and the sides of her hands are more consistent with her trying to block any blows that were coming her way.
Yep.
And would you?
I'm sorry, and I would like to add that you can see that in the external diagram on the torso, but she had injuries farther up her forearms and on her arms too, also consistent with blocking those blows.
Your Honor, I have another diagram we have to mark as people's 118.
Yes.
And showing you what's been marked as people's 118, is this a document that's authored by you?
Yes.
And again, do these document the injuries that you observed to the decedent's hands.
Yes.
Now, you talked about these injuries or being consistent with someone holding up their hands. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you would expect to see these injuries if someone was attempting to defend themselves?
Yes.
Now, if the decedent were to brace herself from a fall from 21 feet hitting the pavement by holding out her hands, would you expect to see a different pattern of injuries than the ones you've notated?
Well, if she's assuming
Have
that
a
she's
good
landing
day.
on her palms, I would expect some kind of injury to the palms. Now, the palms take a lot of pressure to cause injury, but I would suspect that a fall from a height would be adequate to cause injuries to the palms.
Did you see any injuries to the palms?
I did not.
Were there any fractures to her hands?
There were no fractures to her hands or forearms or arms.
Now, did you observe injuries to the decedent's legs?
Yes, she had similar abrasions and contusions on her extremities, lower extremities.
Now, if the decedent were to fall from a height of 21 feet and land feet first, would you expect to see a different pattern of injuries than what you observed from the decedent?
Yes, and as I was studying for this case, there was a classic picture in one of my textbooks of an individual who falls onto their feet and causes lacerations, so breaks in the skin of the soles of the feet, and then the lower extremity bones, the tibia and the fibula, are driven through the feet through those injuries on the feet. I did not see that in this case.
Now, based upon your examination of the decedent, are you able to determine the cause of death?
Yes.
What is the basis of your conclusion?
Oh, here we go.
All those injuries we've been discussing throughout the whole testimony.
And what is her cause of death?
So blunt force injuries of the head and torso.
And what is her manner of death?
Homicide.
Thank
Wait,
you, nothing further.
hang on.
Cross-examination. Who's cross-examining?
He didn't.
Let's start tomorrow at 9:30
Blunt force injury doesn't.
With a witness.
with a, sure.
That doesn't help.
Well, homicide
Like-
doesn't have to be. I mean, he was responsible because he scared her and she went over the ledge by accident. That would still be a homicide.
Yes, however, he didn't state whether it was the choking or the falling
Oh yeah.
because
Probably
he
wouldn't-
did. Well, it
Well, she was
matters
still
because
alive after the fall, so
what, the fall or the
Yeah.
choking?
she was still alive after the fall.
Was she?
Yeah, because they took her to a hospital. Serious
just.
trauma. I mean, she died that night, but
Yeah.
she died an hour or two later, I think.
Right. So they were just.
But yeah,
keeping her
she was
alive.
still alive. Yeah, because yeah, she had
Was
like
like-
raspy breathing, and I think she was having a
Yeah,
seizure.
because it sounded like some of her organs were like completely exploded.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So,
So it was the
therefore,
fall.
neither the choking nor the falling were the catalyst. Like it was both.
I mean, it could be. I don't think she was that choked. I mean, I don't think that would have been what did it.
Okay, but what he just testified to was that she was strangled,
Yeah.
and that was in the house,
Yeah.
and it must have been because that's where she urinated.
Okay.
That was where she urinated, right?
I thought
It
that was his
inside.
urine.
No, well, was that proven earlier?
I'm pretty sure it was.
Was it? I don't think they ever said whose it was.
Thought there was some testimony about that.
We might need to go back and find out. Although the defense is probably going to
Yeah.
touch on that. Where are we up to? What's going on? Oh, that's it.
That's it. Yeah. We're over for the day.
That's it. Okay. Well, I'm sure that they'll come back to that tomorrow. Hang on. All right. Sweet. Yeah, it's not looking good for him.
Yeah.
It's not looking good at all, really, is it?
No.
Hang
not
on,
really.
wait, sweet, no more. No, it was hers, I thought, because they said you lose bowel and bladder control. Yeah, I know. That's
I wasn't
what
sure
I was
if
getting
that
at.
was after the fall, though. Like she urinated herself on the ground.
Well, but wasn't there some in the house?
There was.
There was a puddle. There was quite a big puddle in the house.
Okay.
Yeah, and like you could see it in the photos.
Yeah.
And it seems a bit strange that there would be two puddles, and one of them wouldn't be hers.
True.
Like it would be from a different person. So why is everyone getting around urinating? That sounds weird.
Yeah.
So yes, from the strangulation. See, yeah. So maybe like it continued to come out.
Yeah.
Like that would make sense. Like if she was strangled in the house and then he took her and threw her off the balcony, like they continued to fight and the fight continued, and yeah, as we were just saying, she fought for her life. Like there's injuries to show that she was fighting, and then she ended up over the edge of the balcony, and more continued to come out of her bladder, and ended up on the patio, the concrete. That would make sense,
Yeah.
I guess. It's all very gruesome, but
yeah.
So hang on, Matt, what are you saying? So he effectively admitted murder, just not first degree. Yeah.
I think he admitted manslaughter.
Well, I suppose that's what he's
Assuming
admitted to.
He didn't. I mean, I don't believe it, but okay, maybe she got scared. He strangled her, and then she ran trying to get away from him. It would technically be manslaughter.
It does sound a lot more than manslaughter, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, what did, okay,
well,
we haven't heard the defense yet. We haven't heard the defense's side yet. So
two sides
we can't
to every
really
story.
say. Yeah, we can't say what the defense is going to be. Like maybe he's going to say that they were actually getting it on, and well, not getting it on, as in like they haven't found any sign of semen, but perhaps it was foreplay, or something, right? And
she's in BDSM.
That she is. And there's no one else to refute this, so it's not like she can speak to say that no, I wouldn't go anywhere near him with a 10-foot barge pole. So he could say, legitimately, he could argue that no, they were getting into it, and there was some choking play going on, and it went a bit far, and that's what happened. And then we got into an argument, and it got a bit out of hand, and I didn't mean for that to happen. That could be the defense. It sounds a bit far-fetched, but that could be what. And then he got scared and he ran away and got all those injuries on him. Although the injuries could have been part of the fight between the two of them, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just coming up with stuff now. What did you say, old man? I'd be pissed if they try that. You mean the defense? I suppose. I don't know. C-Swept. Choking her would have been attempted murder, though, even if she fell by accident. Sex choking would not have caused that bad of throat injuries. You would think that it wouldn't have gotten to that level where she's actually lost control of her bladder. That is, and that there is blood vessels popping, like the petechiae. That's your eyes like popping out of your sockets. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So she like getting held over the balcony being choked, fairly junky, he could say, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm speculating as to what his defense could be. It could be something completely else.
Sure.
Just the best thing I can think of right now, based on what I just heard, which is pretty damning evidence or testimony by that last witness. Doesn't sound too good for Mr. Pursehouse.
Yeah.
At this point in time, he should be feeling a bit uncomfortable in his seat right now, I would think.
Yeah.
That particular defense, like she suddenly decided to breathe, play with a guy who terrified her. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's a little bit
Yeah.
it doesn't seem
Unlikely.
to make much sense. Yeah, it's a bit unlikely that she would suddenly want to mess about with this dude who she had a DVO on and she was scared of, and there's plenty of text messages and testimony from her friends, etc., to say that she was scared to death of him and she wanted nothing to do with him. So why on earth would she suddenly want to be hooking up with him? That doesn't really sound too believable, but who knows?
Yeah.
Be a junkie. Yeah. It's all very silly. There's not much of a defense possible. Doesn't seem like it, but you never know.
No.
Until it could be. You never know. It could be some Nordic ritual. Look, as silly as that sounds, I think sometimes the sillier sounding the defense, the more plausible it can be.
If you can pull it off. Yeah.
Wow, 130 pages of in-depth testimony or in-depth research about Nordic, what is it?
Oh, I forget the term.
Yeah,
For Delphi.
rituals, sacrifice. And suddenly, and then a bunch of people from all over the place starting to come forth and go, actually, they do that. And they do, and the crime scene actually that they spell out is similar. Doesn't sound as, it's actually starting to sound like, why would you even make that up? I don't know. I'm talking about a completely different case now, but it's kind of, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. It's kind of like, well, why would you come up with something so far-fetched?
Yeah.
So you just never know. You never know until you hear the other side what could be the defense in these cases. There could be something that makes you really think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so whilst it sounds like Mr. Pursehouse is in big trouble, and he probably is, he's innocent right now, and he actually, his counsel could come up and give us something very, something at least to make us doubt what's going on here. What are you saying, Lauren? I mean, I get that they have to defend him, but the self-deleting accidental yeeting over the balcony is the best they have. That's very funny. Very good. Yeah. Temporary insanity.
That would have been probably the best argument to use. But then
wouldn't
again,
help him though, would it?
Well, no, because he fled, so it's like he knew his actions were wrong. So
yeah. I mean, would that even help? Like, he'd still get done, and he'd still go to prison for the rest of his life.
No, he doesn't. He goes to a mental institution.
Oh, you mean actually pleading insanity?
Oh yeah.
Good luck.
I mean, it worked for Michael Barazone, but the case was 100 times different. So
yeah. I think that's a pretty high bar to pass, isn't it? Or to jump. Yeah. Anyway, Paige, what are you saying? This one's easy for me. He's guilty, in my opinion. I know we're supposed to wait for the defense, but meh.
Yeah.
Sorry, you've already jumped over that balcony, Gareth. Distant. I'm going to go back and re-listen to defense opening after the stream. That's actually a pretty good point.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind doing that, to be honest. Might have a bit of a listen to it myself. And I've missed a little bit of this trial because, time zones, which is annoying. But I get wrap-ups when I come back and have a look at it, and I make sure that I haven't missed anything that important. But sometimes there are just little bits of details that I miss because, I'm asleep. So I might just see whether there's anything that has bypassed me. Wouldn't make sense psychologically. It would be hard to get a psychiatrist to vouch for that. What are you talking about, Fed?
To testify on his behalf.
Right.
I mean, you can always find somebody who will say what you want for the money, but
yeah.
Anyways.
And it would not work. Always being in a mental institution is not a dance on roses. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like this whole insanity defense, I think people tend to think it's like some sort of way out, but I think these
no, it's not. But like,
yeah,
it depends on the person. Like Michael Barazone, basically, the judge hates him and is kind of slow walking it. The facility is slow walking it, but most of his doctors say he's ready for release. He was convicted in April of 21, I think.
Yeah.
Or was it 22? No, April of 22. So, I mean, it just depends on the person.
I think what people really don't like about the insanity defense or the whole idea of not guilty by reason of insanity is the words not guilty.
Yeah.
Like, for example, with Stalk, if she
Yeah.
had gotten that not guilty by reason of insanity, if that had been the verdict,
Yeah.
the whole idea of her being pronounced not guilty, even by reason of insanity, people just couldn't live with that. Even though she would be in a really horrible place for the rest of her life, no question. Like, she would be there, and she would probably be tied up in a room, like shackled up, like in a straitjacket, and medicated to within an inch of being conscious, and it would not be a very nice place to be at all. The idea of her actually having those words not guilty associated with her, people just could not live with that because obviously she did it, and so I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that she would have had any chance of getting out or that it was a nice place to be.
Well, that's what they said about the guy who shot Reagan, so now he's on Twitter, formed a band.
He got out, did he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's in a band right now. He's having the time of his life.
Guilty but insane is a better way to say it. You're absolutely right, online. Yeah. It shouldn't be not guilty by reason of insanity. It should be guilty but insane. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You're right. Because people did, those people that get that verdict, they still did do it. There's no question. Yeah. Okay. They don't put a straight jacket just for fun. Yeah, I know. We're getting to get going.
So we'll be back tomorrow, same time?
Yes. So tomorrow is your Wednesday.
Yes.
And it is my Thursday.
Woohoo.
And yes, we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get into the defense case tomorrow. This trial's going on a bit longer than we thought, but there was a big break.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's still day 9 tomorrow, though.
Yeah.
Today's day 8. That is a lot. It's longer than we thought.
Yeah, it is. Much longer than usual.
You would have thought it'd be like 3 days, 4 days. But no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping that we'd have a verdict by now.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Would have been nice.
Would have been good. Okay, well, you just never know with these things. But thank you, everyone, for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Sal, do you have anything to grift?
No, just check out DALI Talk. Yeah.
Cool,
Follow me on Twitter.
I think I'll be joining MG Law tonight-ish.
Nice.
Yeah, for Yon that his
Nice.
name? Yeah, Bradley on. I've been joining him in the evenings a little bit lately. So yeah, I think we'll be doing that again, and I'll probably join him tonight and tomorrow night for a little bit. But that'll be it until next week for me on that one. But yeah, it's always fun doing the Bradley Yons and
Yeah.
Shelley with the Book of Yon. So anyway, have a good one, everybody,
Night.
and
Bye.
don't get up to any trouble.
Not too much.
Not too much trouble, no.